Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto was taken away from Leaf Village and was raised by Tsunade as her own son. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Jiraiya was wondering why Gamamaru, the great elder toad, all of a sudden wants to speak with him in Mount Myoboku. He was just traveling around the land of water to keep track of his spy network and was returning back to Leaf Village. During his travels he was about to finish his very first book, Tales of a Gutsy Ninja. Granted, he was thankful for his student to provide him inspiration to complete the book. He thought perhaps he should take some time off from writing and traveling and enjoy some sceneries in Nadeshiko village, which just happens to be located near the land of water. Because of that, he and Gamaken were now in the middle of jumping away from Nadeshiko village when Gamaken informed him that Gamamaru wishes to speak with him. You are so ungraceful, Jiraiya, to be found in a place full of women. I thought you left behind your perverseness and have become a serious author to inspire the world to achieve peace. Gamaken said in his ungraceful tone he always uses, while taking another large jump. Hey, it's not my fault. No one told me that Nadeshiko is full of kunoichi, and FYI, I was just taking some time off from writing the book to enjoy sceneries in the nearby village, which just happens to be that damn Nadeshiko village. Jiraiya ranted while making sure to hang on to the toad by applying chakra to his feet. No one wants to face the fury of angry kunoichi. By enjoying sceneries, you mean enjoying sceneries in female hot springs, with a monocular and a notepad? The giant toad countered. Jiraiya got a sweat drop on his head and replied hurriedly, whatever, Mr. Gamaken, just take me away from here as far as possible. As you see, I'm still ungraceful as ever. But hang on, after which Gamaken took another mighty leap. After some time the pair both got off from Nadeshiko village borders and traveled some more distance and entered Fire Country. They stopped at a pond to take some much needed rest because they are possibly out of danger now. Alright Jiraiya, we are reaching the time limit for summoning. Now I have to go back, but to honor Gamamaru-sama's wish, you must visit Mount Myoboku soon, Gamaken said while breathing a little heavily due to the leaps and jumps he took just recently. Yeah, I will, Mr. Gamaken. Tell Shima-sama to reverse summon me when you reach there, Jiraiya said while going to the nearby pond to wash his face. Alright Jiraiya. But don't go around peeping on women and getting into troubles. I can't save you all the time because as you see I am still as ungraceful as ever, said the giant toad, and then disappeared in a huge puff of smoke, leaving behind a very irritated Sannin for that peeping remark. For the last time, it's not peeping. It's called research, shouted the irritated Sannin to the fading smoke. A few seconds later he sighed and turned back to the pond to wash his face. He leaned near to the pond on his right knee and started to wash his face in the fresh pond water, but then he noticed a presence on his right side. He was a little surprised by the sudden appearance of the mysterious person. There was a woman standing tall on his right side 7 feet away from him. The woman had green eyes which can captivate anyone who sees them. Her light brown chin-length hair and her curvaceous build made her look even more attractive. She wore a dark red form-fitting outfit with only a long sleeve on her left side and has an orange sash around her waist. She stood in a stance that reflects her experience of being a tough kunoichi. Huh! I didn't expect you to chase me this far, he said as a statement, still washing his face as if she was not a threat to him. The technique you displayed last night was simply incredible. She praised his skills. But you simply didn't come here to tell me that, did you? The Sannin questioned in a matter-of-fact tone, while standing up and facing her. I've seen your skill and I want to make a request, she replied. Like what? The Sannin asked, getting to the point of this discussion. The next day in Mount Myoboku, Jiraiya was walking alongside Fukasaku towards the throne area where Gamamaru rests. Fukasaku could not tell whether the Sannin is happy or is seriously thinking about something, because Fukasaku noticed Jiraiya's face has a frown on it, but from time to time there was a smile on his face, like he was remembering some fond memories he shared with a person he loved. Soon the pair came before an elderly-looking toad resting on the throne. Jiraiya showed his respect to the great elder toad by bowing his head. You wish to speak to me, Gamamaru-sama? The Sannin asked respectfully. Ah, Jiraiya boy, you're here, replied the elder toad in a sagely tone. Yes, Gamamaru-sama, the Sannin confirmed. Jiraiya boy, I already told you about the prophecy when you first came before me, about the future student of yours that will become a ninja, who will bring a great change to the world of shinobi. I got another glimpse of your future in a dream recently, said the elder toad. Please tell me what you have seen, Gamamaru-sama, Jiraiya asked and started listening carefully. The child of prophecy will bring upon something that was long since forgotten. Whatever he will bring upon will either cause the destruction of shinobi world or the salvation of it, answered Gamamaru. I think I've already found the child of prophecy, thought Jiraiya, remembering his one-time student who happens to carry a dojutsu that has been long since forgotten. Anything else have you seen, Gamamaru-sama? The Sannin asked. When no reply came, the Sannin looked closely and he could hear that Gamamaru has fallen asleep on the throne snoring peacefully. Seeing this, both Jiraiya and Fukasaku fell face first into the ground in a comical way. Jiraiya was the first to recover and stood up. I guess if that's all, I should be going, Fukasaku-sama, he said to Fukasaku. Alright, Jiraiya boy. You may return, replied Fukasaku with a sweat drop on the back of his head at seeing the great Elder Toad's antics. With that, Jiraiya got ready to return to Leaf Village. So the prophecy has been retold? Was Jiraiya's thought when he was going to Shima so she can send him back to Leaf Village. In a dense forest, there was a lot of smoke forming at a huge tree. Slowly the smoke started to dissipate, allowing the two persons within the smoke to be seen. One person was wearing a dark cloak and has a cap on his head. He had a band-aid on the bridge of his nose. He was standing tall and looking down at the second person, pointing a kunai with his right hand in the second person's direction in an arrogant way. The second person was dressed up in a regular jounin outfit of the Leaf Village, and he was breathing heavily due to some exhaustion. The most striking feature of the second person was that his hair was in blonde color. His Leaf Village headband was tied around his forehead, where it kept some unruly blonde hair locks of his from getting on his face. Just give up. The first person demanded. Can I say one thing? And the second blonde person was attacked before he could finish. I don't care what you say, shouted the first person, while hardly slamming the blonde onto the trunk of the tree with his left shoulder. He then kept the blonde firmly locked onto the tree trunk painfully. Just die already, the first person said again in irritation. Give up, blonde started to say in heavy breaths. The man got shocked that the blonde could still talk. Then the person in his grip dispelled into smoke, revealing that he was fighting a shadow clone all this time. All of a sudden the original blonde appeared behind him with his left hand ready to deliver the finishing blow. On me giving up. The blonde finished his sentence, and then delivered a hard chop to the back of his attacker's neck. The chop was so strong that the attacker was hardly slammed onto the tree trunk in a painful way and then landed face first onto the large tree branch. The person knew he was defeated. Even if you take me down, another assassin will attack the village, he informed the blonde. He then started to grin and lifted his head to look at the blonde that defeated him and said in between heavy breaths and panting, as long as we are cursed to live in this ninja world, there can be, panting, no peace, panting, ever panting. Well, I'm going to break that curse one day. If there is truly such a thing as peace, then somehow I'm going to find it. And I will never stop looking. The blonde replied. Who are you? The defeated person asked, looking genuinely surprised. The blonde then lifted his hand to introduce himself. My name is... Minato was interrupted from reading the book Tales of a Gutsy Ninja by Jiraiya slapping him on his back. Hey, so you were reading my Tales of a Gutsy Ninja book, are you? Jiraiya seemed happy that someone is interested in reading his very first book. Well, it's only my first published work, so the sentences can be a bit childish, and I didn't do a great job, the Sannin said while taking a seat in front of Minato. He seemed embarrassed at his work. Oh no, I don't believe that at all. I think that this tale is wonderful, Minato said, seemingly very impressed by the book. Every chapter reads like one of the numerous legendary exploits you told me about. It's almost autobiographical, Minato said, referring to the tales mentioned in the book. Yeah, but it didn't sell at all, Jiraiya said awkwardly, and then he started to scratch his cheek like he just got an idea and said, for my next one I think I'll add some spicy elements to pack it up. The main character in here, I thought that his determination to never give up was pretty awesome. He's actually quite a lot like you, sensei, Minato said, still looking at the book. Yeah? You think so? Jiraiya inquired, getting hopeful. So, I was thinking I really hope my soon-to-be child to become an amazing shinobi, which is like the main character in your book. Minato expressed his feelings. So that's why I'd like to ask your permission to name my son after him, said Minato, putting the book down on the table. You what? Are you sure about this? I mean, I only came up with it while eating ramen, exclaimed Jiraiya, finding it shocking that his student is going to name his son after his book's main character. Naruto, a very pregnant-looking Kushina, has joined the conversation, looking pleased at the name for her soon-to-be child. Kushina? Jiraiya questioned her to make sure they are taking the right decision or not. Kushina nodded her head to Jiraiya, conveying her wish to name her son as Naruto while rubbing her stomach in a loving way that only a mother could do. Wow! So would that make me his godfather then? Jiraiya asked hopefully. We want you to be his godfather, Jiraiya-sensei. Both Kushina and Minato replied as one, and the day went on with the three discussing about how happy the future will be, and how their soon-to-be child will become an awesome shinobi. Unknown to them, there was a storm awaiting in the darkness to swallow all of their lives into darkness. Some unknown location. There was person sitting in the darkness wearing a dark cloak and a hood covering his identity. His facial features could not be seen from under his hood. All I need is just one opportunity, the unknown person muttered to himself, and then lifted his head up and started laughing like a maniac. In the process, his hood dropped from his face while he was still laughing. There was a short glimpse of the white mask he was wearing on his face, having only one eye hole and has some dark stripes on it resembling a flame pattern. Peeking through the single eye hole ominously was a sinister-looking Mangekyo Sharingan. While the Namake's family is eagerly waiting for their Naruto to come into this world, there was some major unrest going on far away in the Sand Village. It was another hot day in Sand Village. Everyone in the village seems to be working. Civilians going for their daily works, merchants and vendors opening their shops. But for 3-year-old Temari, that was not the case. She and her 2-year-old brother just found out that they are going to have another sibling soon. The kids and their parents were so happy they even planned to make a family dinner plan. Those damn council members just have to ruin it, don't they? Temari said to herself standing in the hallway of the house, hands folded and face set in frown like a stubborn child. She was so young she could not even pronounce some words properly. The eldest daughter of Raza got irritated that her dad has to attend an important meeting when they were just about to celebrate the news of having a new sibling in future. But her dad promised to her that he will be back as soon as possible before he went to attend the meeting called upon by the council of the Sand Village. She released a long breath and decided to wait for her father to return. She entered her room and, Kankuro, what are you doing in my room? She stopped in mid-sentence, and pointed to some type of box that Kankuro was holding in his hands and questioned, is that mom's makeup kit? Yeah, replied the 2-year-old Kankuro, while awkwardly trying to hide the makeup box from his sister's scrutinizing eyes. What you doing with it? Temari asked, still unsure of why her brother was having her mom's makeup box in his hands. That's none of your business. Kankuro screamed childishly and then ran out of Temari's room. Temari was surprised by his outburst for a second but then remembered that he was in her room. She threw a pillow in the direction of retreating Kankuro and shouted, don't enter my room with your tea parties and cat suits again. I don't do tea parties, and those are pajamas, not cat suits. She heard her brother shout back. She went back to her bed and thought, he may be weird, but he's still my weird brother. Soon I'm gonna have another younger brother, she told herself lovingly, but then thought, I wonder what's that meeting about that dad has to attend urgently. I wonder what this meeting is about that I have to attend urgently. Raza asked the assembled council members. It's about the future of the Sand Kazekage-sama. As we all know, Sand Village is on its last legs now. We were humiliated by the Leaf Village in the Second Shinobi World War. Our every assault on Leaf forces were countered by Tsukumo Hatake the White Fang. Every poison Chiyo-sama came up with was always countered by Tsunade Senju the Slug Princess. Our forces have been massively attacked by Orochimaru the Snake Sannin and his summons, and most importantly each and every one of our top secret plans to invade Leaf were spoiled by Jiraiya the Toad Sage and his spy network even before the plans were put into motion, the newly appointed councilman Yura said. And then came the Third Shinobi World War. It was a war we wanted to win, to avenge the death of our third Kazekage, who was possibly assassinated by the Stone Village. Even if we were allies with Leaf Village in this war, it was actually Leaf who won the war single-handedly, by one Leaf Shinobi decimating the Hidden Stone's army all by himself. While Sand Village was not able to land even one single decisive hit in that war, the Jounin commander Baki pointed out, I know our village's history. Please get to the main issue. Kazekage said, not wanting to hear again about Sand Village's dark history. All these shortcomings of Sand Village have made it a laughingstock in front of other villages. And we have decided to remedy that by giving Sand Village a weapon. Chiyo said. How do you propose to do that? Raza inquired. We heard news that you are about to become father for another child. Am I right, Kazekage-sama? Chiyo questioned. Yes. But what that has to do with what we are discussing now? Questioned Raza. The council wishes to seal Shikaku the Sand Spirit in your unborn child, while he is still in his mother's womb. In that way we can attain a perfect we. Denied. Raza interrupted Chiyo, before she could even complete her words. Chiyo could not understand what he was implying. The council's wish for my child to be turned into a perfect weapon has been denied. Raza clearly explained to the assembled council. All council members were stunned by this straight rejection. There was pure silence in the council room, so much that you could actually hear the clock ticking in the council chamber. Chiyo was the first to recover. But Kazekage-sama, you have to consider the future of this village first. Yura was next to respond. Kazekage-sama, Sand Village cannot appear weak in this crucial time. He was about to say some more, but Raza held up a hand to silence all the bickering. Council members. Sand Village had already become weak that very moment, when this council decided to let a child who is not even born yet to carry the burden of this village. Raza slapped the hard truth on the faces of council members. But Yura was interrupted again by Raza, who said, I will not allow not only my child, but any child to bear the burden. But since Sand Village is in dire times, when my soon-to-be son becomes 5 years old in future, he will be given a choice to become the Jinchuriki. If he chooses to be a Jinchuriki, then he will become the guardian of the Sand Village, not the perfect weapon as some of you here think about Jinchurikis. He spat out the word perfect weapon like it was some kind of a poison. But Kazekage-sama, you must understand the importance of having a perfect we. Yura was not able to complete his sentence because an intense killer intent hit him head-on, courtesy of the fourth Kazekage, daring him to finish that sentence. This council exists to advise the Kazekage on how to run the village, but not to overstep Kazekage's direct orders. If you all still insist on ruining not just my child's, but any child's life, then I will be forced to implement the martial law and disband this council altogether, was the final answer of Raza. We respect your wishes, Kazekage-sama. We will hope that someday your future child will become the guardian of Sand Village. Chiyo replied calmly, like she was not even bothered by the ki of Raza. Raza calmed down after hearing Chiyo's words. Thank you, Lady Chiyo, is that all? He asked the council. When no one said anything, he said, well then I will take my leave. Then Raza left the council chambers in a golden dust shunshin. After that, every other council member soon started to file out. Sometime later in the evening that day, Raza was about to enjoy a family dinner with his wife Karura, her brother Yashimaru and his children. Raza and his brother-in-law Yashimaru were at the table, while a very pregnant-looking Karura came up with some dishes and set them on the table. Temari, Kankuro, come on, dinner's ready! Karura called out for her 2 children. Raza saw both his children Temari and Kankuro. Raza then noticed something. Kankuro, what is that on your face? Raza almost shouted, it's war paint. Kankuro exclaimed proudly, like it was all the explanation that is needed to answer his father. But that's Raza was trying to search for words that won't hurt his son's feelings. Yashimaru was torn between trying to hold his laugh and keeping a poker face, while Karura's eyes became the size of dish plates at seeing her son with that horrible makeup he just called war paint. That's mom's makeup. Temari replied, seemingly not caring about her brother's feelings. Hey! The makeup-wearing boy shouted, and the 2 children started a funny quarrel. The day went on happily, with all of them as family. Yashimaru was now laughing out loud heartfully. Raza and Karura were happy that their family is still standing strong even in dire times of the Sand Village. Unknown to them, there was a storm awaiting in the darkness to swallow all of their lives into darkness. Some unknown location. There was a person sitting in some kind of a throne in a darkly lit base. Facing him were some shinobi who have their faces covered with hoods. The Kazekage is allowing his love for family to get in the way of making Sand Village strong. We cannot let him pursue his foolish ideals. We will dethrone him and make the Sand Village prosper again. The person informed his assembled forces. With all due respect, my lord, how are you going to achieve it? One random shinobi asked their commander. By a coup d'etat, replied the commander, still sitting in the throne of underground base. He then stood up and walked a little forward to face his assembled shinobi. Today we will be silent, but soon we'll take the power authority by all means necessary and build a new sand village on the graves of its previous leaders, he exclaimed, proudly addressing his force. He then shouted, we will fight, for the glory of the sand. We will fight, for the glory of the sand. The assembled shinobi all shouted as one in chorus while holding their right hand fists to their hearts, signifying their loyalty to the sand village. Then they all scattered away. There was only the mysterious person in the base now. He turned back and approached a nearby window and opened it. He then grew a sadistic grin on his face. All I need is just one opportunity. The unknown person muttered to himself. His facial features became visible by the moonlight coming through the window. He was revealed to be Yura, the newly appointed councilman. It was night time in Leaf Village and the moon was shining brightly in the dark sky. A 7-year-old boy was seen sitting on front porch of the house taking care of his 1-year-old baby brother, while at the same time trying to keep the baby comfortable. Few moments later he lifted his head and started to observe the moon. It's a full moon tonight, Sasuke, the boy said to the baby in his arms. Sasuke made some baby sounds like he acknowledged his elder brother's words. Then all of a sudden, wind picked up around them the entire village and started to howl in a very ominous way. The boy looked towards the sky again, and he thought he felt something. A feeling something ominous, the boy muttered to himself. Then baby Sasuke also started make some crying noises like he also felt the ominous feeling. There, it's okay, don't cry, Sasuke. No matter what happens, your big brother will protect you. I promise you that, told the boy to his baby brother in order to calm him. Then in just a matter of minutes, the almighty 9-tailed fox appeared out of nowhere in the middle of Leaf Village and started its rampage, destroying everything in its path with just a flick of its tails. People were dying left and right, buildings were collapsing, and all the boy could do was to get out of the way of falling debris and to make sure his baby brother is fine. His brother Sasuke was scared and was crying. This is an announcement from the Leaf Police Force. All civilians evacuate. Head to the southeast sector. The boy, still carrying his baby brother, heard the announcement and started running towards the southeast sector. On his way he saw a girl who was about his age, crying in an alleyway, not knowing what to do. Come here, he shouted to the girl. The girl stopped crying for a second and saw the boy holding his hand out. Itachi. The girl identified the boy. Hurry up, the now identified Itachi said. Okay, she complied and started running towards him. When she just took Itachi's hand, a large debris hit the alleyway she was previously in. Itachi quickly threw the girl away and jumped himself along with his baby brother away from the debris. Let's go to the shelter, Itachi said, leading the girl along with him and his brother towards where the shelters are located. When they almost made it to the shelters, Itachi saw his father standing there and told the girl, he rescued you, keep going, everyone will be there. The girl was not sure and was about to protest. But then Itachi ran towards his father Fugaku. Father! He greeted his father. Good, you two are here, get to the shelters right away, he demanded his eldest son. Yes, all right, Itachi replied, feeling a little upset, but did as his father asked him to do. Soon after, each and every civilian was evacuated. A fierce battle took place to stop the 9-tailed fox that will forever scar the memories of all those who witnessed it. Next day after the fall of the 9-tailed fox, Lord Third, please take care of my son, his name is... A loud cry of a baby interrupted Sarutobi Hiruzen from his deep thoughts. He exhaled deeply and went to the lone crib placed in the Hokage office. He picked the baby from the crib and started to rock him in his hands soothingly, comforting the baby. The baby boy has cute whisker marks on cheeks and has blonde hair, which was rare in Leaf Village. The boy has striking blue eyes, which were always looking curious, just like his father, when he was a baby. Hiruzen thought, feeling for the 100th time since last night, that it should have been him doing the deed to save the village, not his successor. Soon he was brought out of his thoughts by a knocking on his door. Enter he gave permission to whoever was knocking at the door to his office. His long-time teammates Hamura and Koharu walked in, having grim expression on their faces. Koharu walked close to the baby in Hiruzen's hands, and saw the baby's face for the first time. Soon Hamura also followed his teammates' example and got a good look at the baby. The baby himself was looking at the both of them with curious blue eyes. What are you going to do now, Hiruzen? Koharu asked grimly. The village can be rebuilt, but the lives lost yesterday night will always be remembered. Hiruzen replied. We're not talking about yesterday's unfortunate events, Hiruzen. Hamura corrected Hiruzen. Hiruzen seemed genuinely confused. We're talking about the boy you're holding, Koharu clarified. What about him? Hiruzen questioned. The boy is the legacy of the 4th Hokage, heir of the Uzumaki clan, and most importantly he is the Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails. Hamura explained. If Hidden Stone or more importantly Inoki hears the word that we have the son of the 4th Hokage, then he'll send all the assassins he ever could to make sure the boy does not live. Koharu said. I was thinking the same thing. I thought of giving him his mother's last name to avoid Hidden Stone coming after him. I also intend to pass a law to forbid people from talking about the 9 Tails. I want the boy to have a chance to make friends without having to face hatred. Hiruzen put out his idea to his teammates. Both of his teammates were convinced the idea will work. That concludes the first matter we came here to discuss. Hamura said. What's the other matter? Hiruzen inquired. There were massive number of causalities and many leaf ninjas were wounded in the attack yesterday. Our medic ninjas are not able to tend to all of them. Some ninjas who were injured critically are losing their lives. We need someone to assist us in saving the lives of our ninjas. Koharu said, coming right to the topic at hand. By someone, you mean to say her? Hiruzen asked, just so he could confirm what his teammates were implying. Yes, Koharu confirmed his suspicions. Leaf needs her medical expertise to save our ninjas' lives, Hamura said. I will see what I can do to bring her back and convince her to heal our ninjas. Hiruzen replied. Alright then, Hiruzen, we will take our leave. Both left Hiruzen with the baby. Hiruzen then took the baby to his crib and set the baby in it. He started to feed the boy with a milk bottle. While the baby started to drink, Hiruzen was lost in his thoughts. Tsunade, the leaf village needs you, he muttered to himself. But Hiruzen missed the giggle and the smile that came up on the baby's face when he mentioned Tsunade's name. After feeding the boy, Hiruzen left the now sleeping boy in his crib and went back towards his desk and sat down in his chair. He then started to write a letter. When he was done writing, he did a set of very specific hand signs for a very specific jutsu. Summoning jutsu, he muttered silently, trying not to wake up the peacefully sleeping baby. There was a small puff of smoke. Soon the smoke cleared and a regular-sized monkey could be seen waiting. The monkey's body and tail are covered by white fur, which protrudes from his sleeves and pants. He has shoulder-length white hair and has short sideburns. He wore a black kimono shirt with mesh armor underneath, which is held closed by a blue sash. The monkey also wore a leaf village forehead protector. Greetings, Sarutobi-san, the animal greeted his summoner. Greetings, Satori. I need you to deliver this to my student Tsunade ASAP. Asked Hiruzen, handing the monkey a folded letter. It'll be done, Sarutobi-san. Replied the monkey as he took the letter from Hiruzen before disappearing in a puff of smoke while holding the folded letter. With that being done, Hiruzen decided to complete the tons of paperwork pending on his desk before the baby wakes up again. Somewhere in Tanzaku town, a certain blonde-haired female was not having a good day. When she first woke up to start her day, the teacup her assistant gave her tea in actually cracked in her hands. Soon in the gambling bar, as soon as she started gambling today, she started to win. One might be thinking that winning was supposed to be good, right? Maybe winning was good for others, but that is not the case with her. For her, winning is a bad omen. She was having bad omens since last night. Her assistant, a fairly tall female with black hair, was standing near her. She was actually looking happy that her master is finally winning, but then she noticed the upsetting look on her master's face. Let's go, Shizen, ordered the blonde female. The now identified Shizen's eyes grew to the size of dish plates with a sweat drop forming on her backside of the head. Lady Tsunade? She questioned her master with quizzical expression on her face. She could not believe that her master, who would never quit gambling even when she was losing horribly, was actually leaving a game when she was actually winning. You heard me, let's go, Tsunade demanded her assistant, and started walking off from the bar. Shizen became worried at her master's sudden change in demeanor, but still followed her outside. They were walking towards the inn they are now staying at. There was an awkward silence between the master and apprentice duo. Soon they entered their room and started to get ready to go to bed. The silence between both of them was broken by a sudden puff of smoke on Tsunade's bedside table. When the smoke cleared, a Satora could be seen holding a note. Satora. Tsunade seemed surprised by the sudden appearance of her sensei's summon. Lady Tsunade greeted Satora respectfully. Sarutobi-san wanted this to be delivered to you immediately, he said, and handed the letter to the blonde female, and then disappeared the same way he appeared. Shizen seemed as confused as her master was by the sudden appearance of a monkey summon. She saw her master open the letter and then start to read. Tsunade Senju, before I go into any further details, I want to apologize for disturbing you when you're off duty, to mourn the loss of your loved ones. But a disaster struck Leaf last night, and many lives are in danger. Only you and your medical expertise can save them. Leaf Village needs you. Please come back to Leaf, to save those in need. P.S. Minato and Kushina lost their lives defending the village. Don't let their sacrifices be in vain. As soon as Tsunade read the last line, her eyes went wide with shock. Soon she got up and started to get ready like she was going somewhere. While she was getting ready, she had a grim expression on her face. Her assistant could not keep the curiosity within her and asked her master, Lady Tsunade, what's the message in the letter? Tsunade did not answer her question, but instead said, pack our things Shizen, we're leaving. Lady Tsunade? Shizen was surprised. We're going back to Leaf Village. Tsunade informed her assistant. Leave. Shizen almost shouted in shock. After all, her master did take a vow to never set a foot in the Leaf Village again. Tsunade ignored her assistant's outburst and replied yes. Now Shizen did not know whether to be happy that she and her master are finally going back to Leaf, or to ask her master why she wants to return to Leaf. In the end, Shizen decided to go with the later and asked, Lady Tsunade, why do you want to go back to Leaf, now? Shizen questioned, while placing emphasis on the word now. That question made her master stand still. Tsunade turned around to face Shizen with a sad expression and replied, my cousin and her husband have died yesterday night. Hiruzen was trying his best to contain his anger. He was sitting in his office trying to find out who leaked information to public about the newborn baby sleeping in his office being the Jinchuriki of Kyubi. There have been 14 assassination attempts on the boy's life in the last 3 days. All of the assailants were caught by his Umbu dog, Tenzo and cat. These assailants were then interrogated by Ibiki. The interrogation results left Hiruzen shocked. All of them were people of his own village. People whom his successor died saving, are now trying to kill his son. You can come in now, Hiruzen said all of a sudden. For a few seconds there was no response. But then someone entered through the Hokage office window and stood facing Hiruzen. It's been a long time, sensei. The person greeted with a somber expression on his face. Indeed it has been Jiraiya, Hiruzen said, releasing a sigh. So Minato and Kushina are gone, the now identified Jiraiya said as a statement, to which Hiruzen didn't say anything. For a few moments, neither sensei nor the student said anything. Both were reflecting on their failures. I failed to save those 3 in the Rain Village, and now I failed to save Minato and Kushina too. Had I stayed back in Leaf, maybe Minato and Kushina would have still been alive. Were the thoughts running rampant in the Toad Sanin's head. If it was me that did the deed to save this village, maybe I would have saved both their lives and I would not be there to see my own people falling down so much as to try to take the life of a child. Were Hiruzen's thoughts. The painful silence was broken when Hiruzen's personal assistant peeked her head through the door and said, Lord Third, Lady Tsunade is here to see you. That broke the both of them out of their trance. Jiraiya tried processing what the assistant said in his mind, and when it clicked, he shouted in surprise, Tsunade is back in the Leaf. Jiraiya's outburst caused the baby in the office to wake up from his sleep and he started to make whimpering and crying noises. Hiruzen rushed to the crib and picked up the baby. He then started to rock him gently, trying to calm him down. Once the boy calmed a little, Hiruzen asked his assistant, please send her, and his assistant went back to do as she was asked. It took a few moments for Jiraiya to realize who the baby boy is, but when he got a glimpse of blonde hair peeking through the bundle Hiruzen was holding, he was sure that the boy was who he thought him to be. Jiraiya approached Hiruzen and took a good look at the baby in his sensei's arms. Is he? The Sannin tried to ask slowly this time, so as not to make the boy uncomfortable again. Yes, his sensei confirmed his guess. He looks like both of them, Jiraiya said, looking at the boy, while the baby boy was looking back at the Sannin with curious blue eyes. Jiraiya then took the boy in his hands to get a good look at his godson. The baby was good for a few moments, but then he was getting a bit uncomfortable. Jiraiya tried to calm him by gently rocking him, but the boy kept struggling. Hiruzen took the boy from Jiraiya and tried to calm the boy himself, but it was not working. Both men tried everything they could, but the boy wasn't calming down. He was not crying but has a troubled expression and was nearly whimpering, but they don't know why and what to do now. They started to make some faces to entertain the boy. When Tsunade walked in, what she saw was comical. Her sensei and her old teammate were making some stupid faces. Shizen also could not explain why Jiraiya was stretching his mouth with 2 fingers in front of a whimpering baby. Tsunade sighed at their pathetic attempt to calm the baby. Both men were startled when Tsunade walked up to them and took the baby boy into her arms. She wrapped him up in her warm embrace. The boy instantly calmed down and smiled as she rubbed his back while holding him gently. She gazed at him and the boy looked up at her with curious eyes. She tore her gaze away from the blonde baby and looked straight at her sensei. Tell me everything, sensei, Tsunade more or less demanded while still keeping the baby in a warm embrace. Few painful moments later, Shizen was holding the baby while she sat on a couch inside the Hokage's office. Hiruzen sat in his chair behind the desk. Jiraiya was leaning on the opposite wall facing his sensei, and Tsunade sat on the window with both of her legs placed on bottom space of the window. She was looking out through the window. If one looked close enough they can see some dried tears on her face. The painful silence between the two Sannin and their sensei was occasionally broken by the giggling sounds made by the baby boy. So he is her son? Tsunade suddenly asked without turning her face. Yes, he is. It was Jiraiya who replied. Why is he here in the office? Why is he not in the hospital nursery room? Tsunade inquired, this time looking straight towards her sensei. Hiruzen released a sigh and replied, he was not safe there. What do you mean he's not safe in the hospital? Tsunade questioned. Jiraiya also raised an eyebrow at his sensei's words, but he didn't say anything. There were some situations, third Hokage said. What situations exactly? It was Jiraiya who asked, this time putting emphasis on the word situations. Hiruzen exhaled deeply, feeling his age for the first time since taking up on the Hokage mantle again. There were 14 assassination attempts on the boy's life. Granted, all the assassins were captured and are placed in heavy security prison. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade grew serious at this. Is it hidden stone? Jiraiya inquired. It must be Inoki. That damned old midget will do anything to get back at Minato. Tsunade expressed her anger, while spitting out the name Inoki like it was a poison. Well, I thought the same at first too, but it was not him. Hiruzen cleared their doubts before his two students could go out to do something drastic against Stone Village, and that will lead them straight towards Fourth Great Ninja War. If it's not him, then who sent the assassins? Jiraiya thought out loud. It's the civilians and some ninjas of our own village. Hiruzen dropped the bomb on them. All those present inside the office except Hiruzen were shocked. There was a heavy silence that fell inside the Hokage office right after Hiruzen uttered those words. The tension was heavy among all of them. The baby boy also seemed to sense the tension as he made some whimpering noises. Shizen excused herself to go out of the office to calm the boy. Once Shizen and the baby were outside, Jiraiya calmly asked why. He's the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, Hiruzen started to say, but was interrupted when the desk in front of him was smashed into a million pieces, courtesy of a raged Tsunade. Don't give me that nonsense, sensei. Would they be willing to kill him just because he's a Jinchuriki? Are the villagers so blind that they are willing to kill a child who is the son of the person who saved them? Tsunade asked in between her anger. To tell you the truth, they don't know who he is, Hiruzen replied calmly like he was not even bothered by Tsunade's rage. What do you mean they don't know who he is? Jiraiya asked, sounding shocked. I mean, they don't know who his father is. Hiruzen answered his student. Silence prevailed once again in the room the three were in. Both Sannin tried to process what their sensei was telling them. You mean to say, Tsunade started saying a few seconds later while cracking her knuckles. Her teammate Jiraiya then continued her words. You told the villagers that he is the Jinchuriki while you withheld the information about who his father is. As he was uttering those words, his chakra started to flare unconsciously. Hiruzen took a deep breath, and just when it was feeling like his own students would attack him, he released a very massive and potent killing intent, focusing it on his two students. Jiraiya and Tsunade saw their own deaths 5 or so times. It was then they remembered that their sensei was once known as God of Shinobi. Hiruzen settled down after a few moments. Jiraiya and Tsunade seemed to be able to actually listen to him this time fully. It was not me who informed the public about his Jinchuriki status. I'm still trying to find out the person who leaked it. As for not informing the villagers about who his parents are, what do you guys think if Hidden Stone, or more importantly Inoki, finds out about him? Hiruzen said, more or less scolded his students, like a father would to his stubborn children. Both Sannin understood what he was saying now. If Inoki finds out about the boy, he will be hell-bent on taking the boy's life. So what did you think of doing to protect him? Jiraiya asked. I will give him his mother's last name. I also initiated a law forbidding any talk about Kyuubi. Hopefully the boy will have a chance of making friends in future. Hiruzen explained his idea. That's a good idea, sensei, but there is a major flaw in it. Hidden Cloud already tried to kidnap Kushino when she was a child. If you give the boy his mother's name, what makes you so sure that Hidden Cloud would not attempt to kidnap him too? Jiraiya countered. I will, Hiruzen started to say, but stopped, stumbling upon his own words. He looked like he just now realized the problem posed by Hidden Cloud. I didn't take Hidden Cloud into consideration, he admitted. While both the Toad Sage and Hiruzen were bickering back and forth about how to protect the boy and how to proceed in the future, Tsunade was lost in her own thoughts. Even after quite a while, it seemed that both Jiraiya and Hiruzen could not find an idea to ensure the boy's safety. The entire office room was filled with arguments and disagreements between the sensei and student. I will adopt him, Tsunade said suddenly. Pin-drop silence followed her words as both Jiraiya and Hiruzen were shocked with her exclamation. He's the only family I've got left with. I've already lost many loved ones to this village. I don't want to lose him too. I will take him away from this village's stupidity. Tsunade expressed her feelings. But what will you do with the problem posed by Hidden Stone or Hidden Cloud? Hiruzen asked, still shocked. He will be my son. He will be the heir of the Senju clan. If someone still wants to go after him, they will have to deal with me first. Tsunade explained her final decision. But Tsunade Hiruzen tried to protest, but was interrupted by the Toad Sannin, who said, I will also be there, to deal with whoever comes targeting him. Hiruzen saw the determination in Tsunade's eyes and he knew he lost this argument. He released deep breath and said, fine, I will ready the documents tomorrow for you to adopt him. We will have to complete it before the village council gets wind of this matter. I am getting too old to listen to all their bickering. Just then Shizen walked in holding a peacefully sleeping boy in her arms. Tsunade took the baby from her. Then both Shizen and Tsunade went back to the Senju compound in the Leaf Village to rest for the night. Next morning, Senju clan compound. Tsunade woke up soon, so she can feed the baby. She picked up the baby from his crib and held him warmly in her embrace. The baby started to tug her robe, so she opened her robe and let the baby to latch onto her breast while she held a ram hand sign, and the baby started feeding himself. Few moments later, Shizen walked in on the scene and stared in disbelief as she saw her master breastfeeding the baby. It's a jutsu that uses chakra to forcefully activate the mammary glands to start the process of lactation and creates milk for the child. Tsunade explained, seeing the stupefied expression on her assistant's face. Wow, Lady Tsunade, sometimes I forget I'm the apprentice of the legendary medic in the elemental nations. Shizen exclaimed while she sat down near the mother and son. There was glow of happiness on Tsunade's face that she was lacking all these years. Maybe this baby will be the ray of hope her master needed in her life. A few moments later, the baby stopped feeding himself, and Tsunade tied her robe. She handed the baby to Shizen, so she could get ready to go and finish the paperwork needed to officially declare the adoption process. Few hours later at the Hokage office, Tsunade finished signing all the documents required to finish the adoption process. Hiruzen was going through the paperwork, making sure he didn't miss anything. Okay Tsunade, he's your son officially. Hiruzen said once he was satisfied that all the paperwork was perfect. Good. Tsunade replied as she cooed at the baby in her hands. There is one last thing to do now. That is, his birth certificate. Hiruzen said, and then he continued again. What do you want his last name to be? Tsunade held the baby close to her face and gazed lovingly at him, while the baby gazed at her with his curious eyes as he rubbed her cheek with a bright smile. Tsunade finally answered her sensei, who was waiting patiently. He is my son Naruto Senju. 10 days later, after completing adoption process. As soon as the adoption process was complete, Tsunade expressed her desire to take the baby Naruto away from the Leaf Village. Hiruzen, who had already witnessed all the assassination attempts, agreed with her decision. But he agreed to her decision on the condition that she will help all the ninjas and civilians who were wounded in the Nine Tails attack. Tsunade agreed to the condition. It took her a full week to heal all those who are wounded in the attack. The remaining 3 days were spent on collecting all of her Senju clan fortune, so she could raise Naruto. Now Tsunade and Shizen were already packed and were walking towards the village gates. It was still too early in the morning, so no one was present outside except a very few villagers who were starting to work early. Lady Tsunade, isn't it a little too fast to leave? Shizen asked the question that was bugging her mind since last night when her master informed her that they would be leaving the village in the early morning. This village is blinded with its hatred. I don't want to lose him to their hatred. Tsunade said the last part, looking at the baby Naruto in her arms. Shizen understood the inner meaning of her master's words and kept walking alongside her. As soon as they arrived at the gates, they saw Hiruzen waiting for them patiently. Sensei? Tsunade didn't know why he was there. I'm here to fulfill my duty that I promised to his parents, he replied, referring to Naruto. Which is? Tsunade inquired. Hiruzen took out 3 scrolls from his robes. One scroll was colored in red, second one was colored in golden yellow, and the third was plain white in color. He handed all the 3 to her. The white scroll contains all the fortune that Naruto's parents left him with. Hiruzen said with a grim expression, remembering the cost of that fateful night. Thanks. But I don't think I will need it. The Senju fortune I have is already enough. Tsunade tried to refuse. I know. But it's one of their final wishes. Hiruzen replied, remembering one of Kushina's final wishes. All right. Tsunade conceded. But what's with these 2 scrolls? She questioned, referring to the 2 remaining scrolls. They are all the jutsus that his parents used and created in their lifetime. These scrolls can only be opened by the blood of their descendant, he replied while placing emphasis on the word created. Tsunade understood what he was referring to and placed the 3 scrolls in her backpack carefully. Now to the final matter. I'm here to ask you to bring Naruto back to Leaf Village when he is ready. Hiruzen dropped the bomb. No. Tsunade shot down his request. Hiruzen did not react to her rejection. Instead, he was expecting her to say no. But he made a promise to someone. It was Kushina's final wish for him to be Hokage and continue their dreams, he said, remembering her final words. That brought Tsunade's world upside down. She stood in silence for a few moments. Then she composed herself, and gazed at her son in her arms, who was having a bright smile, as soon as he heard the name Kushina. If he decides to come here, I won't stop him. That's all I can promise. Tsunade replied finally while caressing Naruto's cheek. That's all I can ask for. Hiruzen compromised to the fact that she was willing to allow Naruto to return, if he wishes to come back to Leaf Village. Goodbye Sensei, Tsunade said to her sensei and started walking. Soon Shizen also followed her out of the village gates. Hiruzen stood watching the retreating forms of Tsunade and Shizen until they can no longer be seen. Now comes the difficult part, breaking the news to the village council. Hiruzen thought while rubbing his temples. Far away in the sand village. He's so small. He's premature. Are you really sure he's going to be alright? Raza questioned Chio, worrying about his son's health. He was holding a tiny child with red hair. The baby has dark rings around his eyes, just like how his father gets dark rings around his eyes when he uses his golden dust. I'm not sure, but since he's born premature, he has to be taken good care of, to ensure his health. Chio replied. Please let me, see my baby's face, pant. A bedridden Karura asked in between pants and heavy breaths. She was exhausted from giving birth to a child prematurely. Are you alright, Karura? Raza almost shouted in panic, appearing right beside her while carefully holding the baby. I think I'll be fine, pant. Where's my pant, baby? Karura asked her husband again. Raza placed the newborn baby near Karura with extra care. Karura turned a little to her left side so she can see her son. Karura took her very first look at her son and she got tears of happiness in her eyes. He's so tiny, muttered Karura while caressing her son very gently. Just then the door to the operating room opened a little and Temari poked her head inside and asked, Is Mom okay? Temari, pant, come in, pant, and see your, pant, brother, Karura called out to her eldest daughter. Temari walked in, being very careful not to disturb anything in the operating room. Following a step behind her was Kankuro. He was also being very careful not to touch anything. Both children approached their mom, who was looking exhausted. The happiness that both children got when they first saw their youngest sibling cannot be put into words. Temari was the first to speak. Can I hold him? Not now, Raza informed his daughter. Why? It was Kankuro who questioned. Your brother is born prematurely, so we have to take extra care of him. Once we ensure that his health is fine, you can hold him. Chio answered the children. What's premature? Temari doesn't know its meaning since she is too young. Don't worry, pant, you can hold him soon, pant, Karura consoled her children. Okay, both children said downtrodden. Kazekage-sama, what will be the name of your son? We need to make an entry for his birth certificate. One of the doctors in the room asked Raza. It was Karura who answered. He's my son Gaara. It has been 6 months since they left the Leaf Village. Tsunade and Shizen settled in a small forest area near the Land of Waves. They bought a plot of land that's enough for a 2-story house, a garden and a small playground for Naruto. They approached a builder named Tsunade to build them their dream house. Tsunade was a very popular builder around in Land of Waves. He built a very perfect house for them to start raising baby Naruto. Talking about Naruto, he started crawling 1 month back. He was always a troublemaker for his mom and sister. He kept both of them on their toes. One day Shizen found Naruto in the playground playing with mud. Needless to say, she was chewed out by Tsunade. At present Tsunade was in the garden in front of their house. She was sitting on a picnic mat placed on the ground while Naruto was playing with a stuffed toy near her. The toy was a cute yellow-colored mouse with 2 long ears and has a red circle on each cheek. It has a tail that is shaped in a zigzag style. The toy has some black stripes on its back. Naruto was hell-bent on having it when Tsunade took him to the local toy store. Toy store owner said its name was Pika or something. Tsunade thought. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't see Naruto opening his hands, asking her to pick him up. But then, Mama, Tsunade got wide-eyed before whipping her head so fast towards Naruto and picked him up. What did you say, Naru? She asked her son. Mama, said Naruto again, tilting his head cutely, making her heart melt in those words. Tsunade was having tears of happiness in her eyes and took her son into a warm embrace. Shizen, who just walked up to them carrying a tray of snacks, dropped it when she heard Naruto speaking his first words. She hurried up to the pair. Can you call me Sis, Naru? She asked her little brother, getting hopeful. See? Naruto tried to repeat the word his sister just said with a confused but cute expression on his face. Sis, Shizen repeated again, slowly this time so he can see her lips. Sis. Naruto said, imitating his sister. Yes. That's my baby brother. She shouted happily, raising her fist into the air. Did you see that, Lady Tsunade? Naru called me Sis, she said, feeling excitement. Then a giggling Naruto lifted his hands, asking his sister to pick him up. Shizen picked him up from Tsunade and started to jump around in excitement, while the boy was giggling happily. What's with all the celebrations? A confused-looking Jiraiya asked, scratching his head. He called me Mama, / he called me Sis. Both ladies replied at once. Really? Jiraiya said, not believing their words. Mama, Naruto chirped again with a foxy grin. All of a sudden Jiraiya appeared kneeling in front of Naruto, who was still in Shizen's hands. That's my godson. He was having tears of his own. Tsunade was actually glad that Jiraiya was making time from his spy network to check in on Naruto whenever he could. He was being a good godfat. Now say shake that booty girl, Jiraiya said with a perverted giggle. Crickets could be heard chirping in the background while 2 wide-eyed, dumbfounded ladies and a confused Naruto kept staring at him. Shizen, take Naruto inside, ordered Tsunade calmly, cracking her knuckles. Jiraiya gulped in fear when he saw Tsunade has a tick mark on her forehead. It was at this moment he knew he fucked up and she was pissed. Shizen took a happily waving Naruto inside. She completely ignored the shouting and pleading that followed. Don't even think of corrupting my son. Not there, oh well. Baby Naruto, who heard the screams, started clapping and said, Mama boom. Kazekage Residence Sand Village. What's going on? A confused-looking Raza asked the celebrating mother-daughter duo. Karura was hugging her son Gaara affectionately, and Temari was making faces at her brother, making him giggle, and was jumping and spinning in excitement. Both mother and daughter saw Raza standing in the doorway to Gaara's room. He called me Mama, / he called me Sis. Both ladies replied at once. Really? Raza said, not believing their words. Mama, Gaara chirped again with a giggle. Kankuro, who just walked in to see what the commotion was about and heard his baby brother's first words. He rushed to his baby brother who was still in Karura's hands. That's my brother, exclaimed Kankuro. Raza was glad that he made the right choice. He could see that they are a perfect fam. Now say, makeup is great, Kankuro said with stupid grin. Crickets could be heard chirping in the background while two wide-eyed, dumbfounded ladies and a confused Gaara kept staring at him. Raza's eyes became the size of dish plates. Karura handed Gaara to Temari. Temari, take Gaara outside and play, she said calmly. Temari, who was still wide-eyed, took her brother and went out of the room. I just remembered a paperwork that I forgot to finish. Raza smartly escaped the situation, leaving Kankuro to face Karura, who was having tick mark on her forehead, and she was cracking her knuckles. Kankuro was sweating comically. Raza and Temari completely ignored the girly scream that followed few seconds after they left. Baby Gaara, who heard the girly scream, started clapping and said, Mama boom. It has been quite a while since Baby Gaara started to speak his very first words. As time went on, he started saying the words such as Dada to refer his father to, which made his father emotional. Kankuro saw his father getting emotional for the very first time in his 3 years of life. Today is a very special day for the family. It was Temari's 4th birthday. Entire family was preparing for a family celebration at night, and Karura has a special gift for her eldest daughter. Temari, come here, once Karura called out. Coming, Mom, came Temari's shout. Soon Temari entered her parents' room. Karura was the only one in the room standing behind a table. Temari gazed at the table, and she was surprised when she saw what was lying on the table. What's this, Mom? Temari inquired, staring with wide eyes at a giant folding fan that was placed on a table in front of her mother. The fan was taller than Temari herself. The giant folding fan lying on the table is a war fan. It has 3 purple circles along its metal body inside, and they can only be seen when it's opened. The fan can be used for both defensive and offensive attacks as a club when it's closed shut. It can also be used to deflect kunai and shuriken when open wide. It was my war fan when I was in the ninja force. No one was able to even make a scratch on me when I was wielding it, answered Karura, tracing the outlines of the fan with her finger. She was remembering her fond memories with it. I would like you to have it. Happy birthday, Tem. She wasn't able to finish as a small happy bundle known as Temari has crashed into her and started hugging her at waist level. Thank you, Mom, Temari said, sounding genuinely happy to have her mother's war fan. She released her mother a few moments later. She then reached out for the war fan and tried to lift it. It's heavy, Temari said while struggling to lift the fan. Don't worry, you will be able to lift it easily as you grow up, Karura explained. Temari lifted the war fan with both her hands. She wanted to show the gift to her makeup-wearing brother and baby brother who are playing outside. Temari went out and started to show off her gift to her brothers. Karura, who followed her daughter outside, was smiling at the pouting Kankuro and Gaara, who was crawling towards his sister as soon as he saw her. Temari then put the war fan carefully on the ground and lifted Gaara, who was asking her to pick him up by opening his hands. Gaara then started to play with his sister's blonde hair. So I wanted to ask why you always keep your hair in 4 pigtails? It's not that I'm complaining, but why don't you let your elegant blonde hair fall freely on your back? Karura asked hesitantly as she approached the sister and brother duo. She wanted to ask about this for quite some time, but didn't ask, thinking she may hurt her daughter's feelings about how she wanted to look. As soon as Karura said blonde hair, Temari felt something. She couldn't comprehend what this feeling was. It was like she was not the only one. Karura saw her daughter's facial expression change from happy to dreamy to confused and then finally settle with a pout and question mark face. What happened, Temari? I just wanted to know why you don't let your hair loose. That's all, Karura said in panic, thinking she may have hurt her daughter's feelings by questioning her hairstyle. She didn't hate the hairstyle of her daughter, she was just curious. Oh, it's nothing, Mom, I was just lost in my thoughts. Oh, and I don't let my hair loose cause I don't want to look girly, was Temari's reply as she let Gaara down so he can go back and play with Kankuro. Girly? But you are a girl? Karura asked, surprised. Not just any girl, but a girl that will become an awesome ninja that wields your war fan. Temari replied confidently while pointing her right hand thumb towards her chest. I have no doubt in saying that you'll become a ninja that everyone will look up to. But never think that being a girl or girly is a weakness, Karura admonished her daughter. Temari looked at her mother with a confused face. I myself am a woman, and I can proudly say that I can go toe-to-toe with your father any day, informed Karura. Temari's eyes became wide. Wow, Mom, you're awesome. That's not the only thing. Lady Chiyo was said to have taken down an entire fortress, all by herself in a battle. Even Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin of the Leaf Village, is also a woman. Here Temari's eyes were filled stars. Never ever think that being a girl/woman is a weakness. It's true that we are women, but not weak women. Temari was still in awe at what she was just told. It's your choice how you want to look, but never be ashamed of being a girl or woman, Karura said to her daughter. All right, Temari exclaimed, raising a fist to the sky, being proud. Though your hairstyle is quite unique too with your blonde hair, Karura complimented after Temari settled down. There's that feeling again that I'm not the only one, were Temari's thoughts when she felt the same way again as her mother mentioned about her blonde hair. Karura noticed that Temari had a pout and a question mark face again. What's the matter? She inquired. It's nothing, Mom. But I have this weird feeling. Don't know how to say, but I feel like I'm not the only one. Temari replied, scrunching her nose in confusion. Huh? What do you mean, sweetie? Karura asked, getting intrigued. It's like she began to think of a best way to explain. It's like someone is out there who can give me competition, she said thoughtfully. Far away Senju residence, land of waves, a Naruto who was playing in the garden suddenly sneezed. He was playing with a tiny Katsuyu. Naruto was crawling around and trying to catch the tiny slug that his mother summoned for him. Katsuyu is always delighted whenever Tsunade summoned her to play with Naruto. Bless you, Shizen said, who was babysitting Naruto so he won't get himself into mud again. Being chewed out by Lady Tsunade once was enough. Someone must be thinking about you, Neru, she said again. But then she saw Naruto had stopped crawling up to Katsuyu as soon as he sneezed, and made a confused but cute expression on his face like he was thinking seriously about something. To Shizen he looked so adorable that she thought of hugging him like a teddy bear and never let go. Shizen, come inside, we need to ready the bath for Neru, came the shout of Tsunade. Coming, Lady Tsunade, Shizen replied. Lady Katsuyu, can you watch Neru for me? I will come back to take him inside in a few minutes. Shizen requested the slug summon. Oh, it's no problem, Shizen-chan. Besides, I enjoy my time with Naruto-kun, came the delighted reply of Katsuyu. Shizen nodded at Katsuyu gratefully, and then went inside to help Tsunade to prepare the bath for Naruto. Naruto was still having that cute, thoughtful expression on his face. As soon as Shizen was no longer in sight, Katsuyu noticed some movement in the nearby bushes. She felt something in there, so she crawled up to that bush. But suddenly a regular-sized snake jumped on her. The snake was no match for Katsuyu, but it was only a distraction. Another snake, which is the size of a python, was making its way towards the still thoughtful baby Naruto, who was oblivious to its approach. It was green in color, mixing up with the grass, making it unseen for a naked eye. Katsuyu was engaged in disposing of the first snake with her acid, but she did not know there was another snake about to strike Naruto. Even if she knew about the other snake, she could not make it fast enough to save him. The python opened its maw to strike a still unaware Naruto. Few moments later, when Tsunade and Shizen walked outside to take Naruto for his bath, they were confused and surprised along with Katsuyu too. There was a large bird standing in the grass near a happily giggling Naruto. The bird is 3 feet tall and can come up to Tsunade's waist level in height if it's too tall. The bird looked like an eagle, but not quite the same. It has the body structure of an eagle, but its size is far large to be an actual eagle. Its feather colors are so vibrant, which was never seen by any of them including Katsuyu. Even though it has large size and vibrant colors, in nature when an animal has bright vibrant colors, it means that the animal is either poisonous or dangerous. The bird seemed to be calm. It was looking at a giggling Naruto until Tsunade and Shizen walked in. When the bird noticed their presence, it turned its head towards Tsunade. Tsunade was fearing for her son's safety in the presence of an unknown large bird. But as soon as the bird looked at her, she doesn't know why, but she felt at ease. It's like the bird has a calming aura that calms everyone in its vicinity. Almost like someone was guiding her, she walked up to her son and picked him up. While this was happening, the bird didn't even make any movement at all, like all scared birds do when a human approaches them. Tsunade, Shizen and Katsuyu were all staring in awe at the mighty bird. Once the bird saw that the boy was safe, it released its wings, which were 3 meters wide each. Then it released a mighty screech, and took flight. The screech was not the one that shocked Tsunade, Shizen and Katsuyu, but what shocked them was what they saw in the bird's talons. Hanging from the massive and ferocious-looking talons was the lifeless corpse of a green-colored python. The python was massive. It could weigh easily around 300 pounds. All three had no clue how the bird could lift that much weight like it was just a feather. The bird started circling around them in the sky, making a gentle breeze of wind, and then threw the dead python far away, where it can't be found by anyone. Naruto, who was still in the hands of Tsunade, was clapping and giggling, enjoying the gentle breeze created by the bird. As soon as the bird started to fly away, he lifted his tiny hand towards the sky where he could still see the bird disappearing into the distance, and said, "Wind." Right after Naruto said wind in Sand Village, Temari, who was in the playground listening carefully about all her mom's exploits when she was a ninja, suddenly felt like someone rested their hand on her shoulder gently. She looked back in surprise, while her mother seemed to be curious about her daughter's sudden reaction. "Temari?" Karura inquired, curious as to why her daughter is looking back with a confused expression. Temari blinked her eyes when Karura called her and turned to face her mom and said, "It's nothing, Mom. I just felt like someone rested a hand on my shoulder." Just then a gentle breeze of wind surrounded the two females, who have no idea about what was going on. The gentle breeze of wind caused 2 of Temari's lower pigtails get loose, making her long hair to fall freely and flow in the wind, making her look like an angel to her mother's eyes. That night, some unknown location. It was a darkly lit hideout, built entirely underground, with the entrance being at the foot of a rock formation. Within the hideout itself are numerous rooms, and on the walls of the rooms, there were statues of gigantic snakes coiled up with candles in their eyes providing light. A tall and thin figure was seen sitting on some sort of throne-like structure in one of the rooms of the hideout. Soon a regular-sized snake came up crawling into the darkly lit room and stopped nearly 10 feet away, facing the person. The snake looked like it has seen better days. Over 70% of the snake's body was filled with acid burns. Aoda, it seems as if you were unsuccessful in doing what I asked of you. The person said sarcastically. Yes, my lord. I faced a massive retaliation from Slug-san and Summon. The now identified snake Aoda humbly replied. So Katsuyu was there. The person replied. Forgive me, my lord, but your idea to harm an innocent child is not a noble way to. Aoda started to say, but the person interrupted the still talking snake like he didn't even hear its words. Your father Manda will not be happy that his son was beaten by Katsuyu brutally, he said, making the snake bow its head in disappointment on itself. To think that Katsuyu was able to defeat 2 of my snakes all by herself. The person started talking to himself but was interrupted by the snake, who lifted his head and said, with all due respect, my lord, only I was defeated by Katsuyu-sama. Aoda made a tiny mistake by referring Katsuyu with respect, and started to panic that his lord may complain to his father Manda. The person seemed as if he didn't even catch the mistake and questioned, So what happened to Viper then? He was killed brutally by some sort of a large bird. Aoda replied with remorse filled in his voice at losing one of his kin. A bird, you say? Interesting. Was the person's excited reply. He seemed to be in thought for a few moments, with a sadistic grin on his face. He then said again, you may now leave, Aoda. Don't disgrace this place by your presence again. I don't need failures anywhere near me. Aoda was shocked that the person he viewed as his master doesn't even care when one of his kin was killed brutally. The snake looked like he wanted to say something. He wanted to question his master. Is there no respect for his snake brethren who died trying to fulfill his master's wishes? Is there no respect for his own loyalty towards his master? But whatever he wished to ask, he couldn't ask them. As you wish, Orochimaru-sama, Aoda said, and then simply turned around and disappeared in a puff of smoke back to Ryuchi Cave. The now identified Orochimaru did not know that he just lost the trust, respect and loyalty of a young snake summon who will soon become the great snake summon to ever live in Ryuchi Cave. Aoda now has only 2 goals in his mind. The first is to make himself stronger, and the second one is to find a loyal and respectable summoner for the snakes, who will restore the glory of the snakes. It has been nearly 2 months since the incident with snakes happened in their garden. Tsunade had read most of the famous ornithology books ever published in the elemental nations to find out which species does the mysterious bird belongs to, which saved her son from that dangerous python. Tsunade was now in the living room, reading another one of the ornithology books. Bald eagle, no, that's not it, she muttered and flipped through some more pages. Golden eagle, not this one too, she flipped some more pages. Harpy eagle, she hummed and thought while reading more about the species. Harpy eagles possess the largest talons of any living eagle, and have been recorded as lifting prey which is equal to their own body weight. This allows them to snatch a live sloth from tree branches, as well as other proportionately huge prey items. Males usually take relatively smaller prey, with a typical range of 0.5 to 2.5 kilograms, 1.1 to 5.5 pounds, or about half their own weight. The larger females take larger prey, with a minimum recorded prey weight of around 2.7 kilograms, 6.0 pounds. Adult female harpies regularly grab large male howler or spider monkeys or mature sloths weighing 6 to 9 kilograms, 13 to 20 pounds, in flight and fly off without landing, an enormous feat of strength. She paused in her reading. But what I saw was no ordinary eagle. It lifted a massive python, which weighs around 150 kilograms, nearly 330 pounds, and that is not just any ordinary feat of strength, she thought with a frown marring her face. You'll get wrinkles soon, if you keep on stressing yourself like that. Tsunade turned her face towards the source of the voice and found Jiraiya coming in through the window of their house into the living room. If you don't know, we have a fine-looking door that works, she said sarcastically. Now windows are more suited for my style, he said with a stupid grin. But then he became serious and asked, so what happened, that you need my assistance? Few moments later, does Katsuyu know anything about this bird that you are talking about? Jiraiya inquired. She was as surprised as we are, and that's what makes me nervous, that even Katsuyu, who is around for more than 1,000 years, does not have any idea about what this bird is, Tsunade exclaimed. But you also said that the bird just saved Naruto from a python that could possibly be there to attack him, didn't you? Jiraiya questioned. Yeah, and it didn't even make any movement even when I was approaching it. It just kept on looking at me, and then lifted the python like it was just a feather, she said, remembering the encounter again. This is troubling, Jiraiya said, scratching his chin. I will see if I can find any info about this in Mount Myoboku. Write down the appearance and details of the bird and give it to me, he said, handing her a notepad and pen that he always keeps with him. Tsunade wrote what she could remember about the bird and handed it back to the toad Sanin. So, where's my troublemaker godson? Jiraiya asked, feeling happy to meet his godson. He's in the garden with Shizen, Tsunade said while leading the way to the garden. Jiraiya soon followed her out. Naruto was once again found playing with a small Katsuyu, while Shizen was keeping a close eye on him, making sure that no more incidents like what happened last time take place. Naruto was hugging Katsuyu like a teddy bear. His eyes then caught something. There was a cute-looking baby red fox kit which could be no longer than 2 weeks old. The baby fox's fur was gray, but there was already a red coat growing on its fur. The kit seemed to be not able to walk properly because of its young age. The fox kit was probably an orphan now. There were a lot of orphan baby foxes whose parents were killed off because of the demand for their fur or just as an entertainment sport for some stupid people, the sad reality of the world we live in. As soon as Naruto saw the kit, he started crawling towards it. The kit seemed to walk away from the baby Naruto whenever he tried to reach it. Tsunade, Jiraiya and Shizen saw the scene and thought it's adorable. After trying to reach the cute baby fox 2 or 3 times and failing, baby Naruto puffed his cheeks like a stubborn child. Jiraiya could have laughed if he didn't see what happened next. Naruto put his hands on the ground for support, and tried to stand. He stood up with shaking legs and took a step towards the baby fox, which seemed to come to him at this point. Jiraiya was surprised in a positive way and Shizen gasped as she got to her feet with her hands over her mouth. Tsunade's eyes watered with happiness as she saw her son taking his very first steps. Naruto started to pet the baby fox in his own way with his tiny hands. Nary he heard his mother calling him. He turned his head away from the baby fox and saw his mother standing there. Tsunade opened her hands urging him to come to her. As soon as Naruto saw his mother, he forgot all about the fox and started to walk shakily towards Tsunade. Jiraiya recovered from his surprise and took out his camera that he always keeps with him in order to peep on women. But this time he decided to capture this special moment for the mother and son. Tsunade watched her son take one step and another with shaking legs. "Come on Naru, come to mama," she encouraged him with eyes filled with tears of happiness. Naruto took 2 more steps and just when he was about to reach his mother, he stumbled on his legs. Before he can fall, his mother picked him up and she was crying in happiness. She hugged him in her warm embrace. Baby Naruto got confused when his mother started to cry. He rubbed the tears off from her cheeks with his tiny hands as best as he could with an adorable cute expression. Soon Shizen also recovered from her surprise and joined the mother and son duo. Caught each and every step, Jiraiya muttered while going through the pictures he just took. One picture shows Tsunade opening her hands urging her son to come to her. Next 2 pictures show Naruto taking one step after another towards his mother. Another one shows Naruto almost reaching Tsunade. Next picture shows a very emotional Tsunade hugging her son who was trying to wipe his mother's tears. The final picture shows a happy Shizen making faces at Naruto, making him giggle and Tsunade to smile. It will be a gift for my godson, on his first birthday in a few days, Jiraiya thought. Soon he also joined them in urging his godson to walk towards him too, which Naruto happily did. Shizen took the camera from Jiraiya so she can capture Jiraiya's special moment with Naruto too. Then they set the camera on timer mode and put it on a nearest tree branch, so that they can take a family picture with baby Naruto who can now stand a little easily. Tsunade and Shizen were standing side by side while baby Naruto stood in front of them in the middle with a smiling face while Jiraiya, who was taller than all of them, was in the back giving a peace sign with a heartfelt smile. When the timer hit 2-second mark, both Katsuyu and that cute baby fox also joined the picture. Katsuyu was on Naruto's right side while the baby fox was on his left side. The camera clicked the picture, completing the perfect family picture. Tsunade, who witnessed the baby fox being petted by Naruto, decided to adapt the kit. After all, the fox kit was the one that made her son to take his first steps. She decided to take the fox kit to a nearest veterinarian soon to give it all the necessary medication and vaccination for the baby fox to be safe. She will let Naruto to name it when he can. That evening, after witnessing his godson's very first steps and playing with him for some time, Jiraiya took his leave from the family because he has a mysterious bird to investigate about. He gave the camera with pictures to a local studio owner for development. He also paid little extra to make sure the photos will be framed ready 2 days before Naruto's first birthday. Then he decided to visit Mount Myoboku to see if the toads know anything about the bird or not. Few moments later, Mount Myoboku, a large bird, capable of lifting more than 300 pounds of weight, with features of an eagle but large in size and with vibrant-looking red and yellow feathers. Gamamaru muttered in thought with half-lidded eyes while resting on his throne. Standing before Gamamaru were Jiraiya and Fukasaku. When even Fukasaku did not know anything about the bird Jiraiya has asked about, he decided to take the toad Sannin to Gamamaru, to see if the great elder toad has any knowledge of the bird. Well, Jiraiya boy, when I was still a tadpole, my great-grandmother used to tell me the tales of a certain bird. Gamamaru has still half-lidded eyes and did not make any movements, but from his tone alone both Jiraiya and Fukasaku could tell that the great elder toad was surprised. She always used to say that it was just a myth. When I asked her if the bird exists in real life or not, Gamamaru recited his memories to the two of them. Jiraiya looked like he was about to ask something but was interrupted when Gamamaru spoke. I think the bird you are looking for is a phoenix. It has been a week since Jiraiya has left to investigate about the mysterious bird. Today is October 10th, and it's almost like a mini festival in the Senju household in Land of Waves. Because it's the first birthday of Naruto, Tsunade and Shizen were making preparations for a small number of guests in the evening. They didn't invite a lot of members, just a few people. Shizen invited Tazuna and his family personally, while Tsunade herself sent invitations to a select few people like Jiraiya and Hiruzen. At present Shizen was busy in cooking and Tsunade was in the process of arranging all the drinks and sake needed for the guests while she took a sip or two when Shizen was not looking. Naruto was in the living room playing with his favorite stuffed toy, which is the cute yellow-colored mouse with 2 long ears and has a red circle on each cheek. It has a tail that is shaped in a zigzag style. Pikachu Thunderbulb attached, Naruto shouted while running in circles holding the Pikachu stuffed toy in the living room. He was repeating the catchphrase used by the hero in his favorite show that he regularly watches in television. He was so young that he can't even pronounce some words properly. Tsunade and Shizen were still surprised at how fast Naruto was learning to talk, and he was just 1 year old. Katsuyu was babysitting him as both the ladies of the house are busy in preparations, while Eevee was also there running after Naruto. If you're wondering who this Eevee is, then let me tell you, she was the baby fox that Tsunade adopted as a family pet. She let Naruto to name the female baby fox and he named her Eevee, because she looks like another animal, ahem, from his favorite show. Naruto all of a sudden stopped in mid-run and turned back facing Eevee. Eevee, help Pikachu, he shouted playfully, and gently set the stuffed toy on the back of the baby fox. The Fox Kit then started to run in circles, making sure to not let the toy fall down, and a few moments later Fox Kit jumped onto Naruto, making him fall back on the carpet, and started to lick him as the toy fell on his right side. Naruto was laughing hard as he was tickled by the Fox Kit's licking and sat up. Just you wait, Gary. I will beat you, he shouted, referring to another line from the show, raising his tiny fist in the sky. Eevee also rose up on his left side and yipped its agreement too. What's my godson doing? Naruto turned towards the source of the voice and found Jiraiya coming in through the window. Uncle Jiraiya! He shouted in excitement as he ran as fast as he could and jumped up towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya caught the excited boy in his hands and spun him around, making the boy laugh, and then set him down. What's with all the kamo? Tsunade stopped in mid-sentence as she saw Jiraiya. Soon Shizen also appeared in the living room. I'm glad you're here, pervert, Tsunade said. Shizen was trying so hard to maintain a poker face but was failing miserably at the pervert remark. Eevee also made some enthusiastic barks agreeing with that. Hey, Jiraiya shouted like a stubborn child and said, I'm not a pervert, but before Tsunade can counter, I'm a super pervert. He finished his sentence. He then summoned a samurai toad, Gamma, who is a large toad, enough for Jiraiya to ride on his back. His orange skin is covered in blue markings, he has bandages wrapped around his body and left foreleg, and wears a necklace with 7 large beads on it, with the kanji for loyalty on the central, largest one. He was wearing a samurai armor, composed of a plate cuirass and arm guards paired with traditional samurai pauldrons. Then Gamma and Jiraiya started to do a weird dance intro as Jiraiya started to say, I am the hermit of Mount Myoboku, the man on whom ladies swoon over. I am Jiraiya, the toad sage. He completed the intro by making weird pose. He was leaning forward a little facing the ladies of the house, still standing on Gamma with his left leg in front, and right leg was stretched behind him, and he held his left hand in the front with palm open and downwards near where his left knee was, and he held his right hand behind him with elbow facing the sky and closed right fist towards his head. Strangely enough, the toad Gamma was also imitating his pose. Pin drop silence. Crickets could be heard chirping in the background as the 2 ladies of the house and the female baby fox stood there in utter silence with dumbfounded faces and a sweat drop on the back of their heads. But they were brought back to reality from their stupor when they heard clapping sounds. Both ladies and the Fox Kit turned towards the sound and fell face first in the ground in a comical way when they saw that Naruto was laughing and was clapping at Jiraiya's display. See? My godson approves me as the ladies' man. Jiraiya shouted and lifted the giggling Naruto off the ground and set him up on his shoulders and started to jump up and down, still standing on Gamma. Not surprisingly, Gamma also started to jump around as Jiraiya kept himself balanced by channeling chakra to his legs. Few seconds later Tsunade stood up from the ground and said, boys, we'll be boys soon. Shizen, Eevee also stood up and all 3 ladies, including Eevee, went back to what they were doing, leaving the boys of the house to do as they wish. That night Senju compound, the birthday party was not a fancy one. The family just invited some people only. Tazuna and his family left a little while ago after giving their own presents for Naruto. After waving them goodbye, Tsunade came back to the living room and saw that Jiraiya was waiting for her in a chair on the left side of the couch. Naruto was sleeping peacefully in Jiraiya's arms. Tsunade took Naruto from him and settled on the couch. Well, here are the pictures we took that day, Jiraiya said as he handed her a photo album and picture frame. The album has the pictures of Naruto's first steps already in it, and has more blank pages, so the family can store each and every special moment in it. The picture frame has the picture in which Tsunade, Jiraiya, Shizen, Naruto, Katsuyu and Eevee were there as a family. Tsunade kept the picture frame on the desk in the living room, and she kept the album safely away for future. I forgot to give this present to him. Jiraiya muttered as he fished out a wrapped package from his clothes and handed it to her. Tsunade opened the package and there were 2 items in it. The first one was a nightcap with toad mouth, looking like it would eat the one who wore it, and the second one was a money-carrying purse in the shape of green toad, where the toad's mouth opens up to keep money inside. Tsunade rose an eyebrow at these and turned towards the toad Sanine and asked, You're not baiting my son into signing the toad contract, are you? Don't know what you're talking about, Jiraiya replied, whistling lightly while looking at a wall that he found interesting all of a sudden. Tsunade just released a sigh and put the toad cap on Naruto's head. Naruto made a smiling face in his sleep like he appreciated the warmth provided by the cap. I also found some info about that bird, in Mount Myoboku, Jiraiya said. Tell me, Tsunade said, paying attention. Great Elder Toad said that he heard a legend about a bird that can summon the eternal fire. He said its name is Phoenix. But he also said it was just a myth and is not sure whether the bird you saw is a phoenix or not. Jiraiya explained what he found. Tsunade hummed in deep thought as she gazed at her sleeping son. Oh, and by the way, Sensei could not come today as he was busy with council meetings, Jiraiya slowly said, putting emphasis on the words council meetings. Tsunade caught on to what he was implying and asked, what's the matter? Council is continuously making pressure on Sensei to implement Clan Restoration Act. He answered. Tsunade became serious, and took the sleeping Naruto to his room and tucked him in. She then came back to continue the discussion. CRA on which clan? She inquired. Senju CLA. No. Jiraiya was not able to finish as Tsunade interrupted him, and then she continued again. I won't be going through it. They did not ask CRA for you. You didn't let me finish, Jiraiya said. Huh? Was her confused reply. Council is asking CRA to be implemented on the Senju clan heir, he said, putting emphasis on heir. You mean, she inquired, shaking in anger. Yes, they are making demands to put Naruto under CRA to restore Senju, Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. He said with anger too. Well, I won't let them. It's my son's life and he has to live it on his own wishes. If they make any more disturbances, then I will cut all my ties with Leaf Village and make sure Naruto never even hears about the village or its stupid people, she said, her final decision. That's what I want for him too. If he wants to revive his clans, then it's fine. But if he only loves one woman, then that's for the best too. Jiraiya said. Tsunade can understand that if her son wishes to restore her clan, his mother's clan and his father's clan, then he can, because that's what he wishes. But if he doesn't wish to, then no one in hell or heaven can force her son as long as she is still breathing. Anyway, back to topic, since Sensei cannot come today, he sent this for Naruto as present from him, Jiraiya said, and handed a scroll to her. Tsunade took the scroll and unsealed it. The scroll contained a standard training kunai and shuriken set and a white t-shirt which has red color on the neckline and on hands, starting from shoulders. In chest area, the t-shirt has the picture of a monkey wearing cool sunglasses and doing a dabbing pose. Tsunade sat there in silence, staring at the dabbing monkey on the t-shirt. She then folded the t-shirt neatly and kept it back in its package and left it there on the table. She then stood up and started to pull her blonde hair in a comical way and shouted, "Stop baiting my son into signing your summoning contracts. It has been 4 years since the discussion about CRA being forced on Naruto took place." Tsunade sent a warning message to Leaf Village with the Senju clan seal that if they tried to mess with the Senju clan heir, she would cut all her ties with the village and be a normal civilian of Wave. That shut the mouths of so many, including Danzo himself. Losing a Sannin will be a major loss for the village. Apart from that issue, life had been very pleasant in the Senju compound for these 4 years. When Naruto is around, it's like time passes by in just mere seconds. He is now 5 years old, 3.5 feet tall, and has unruly blonde hair. He uses a regular-looking red-colored boy's headband to keep the hair from getting on his face. Shizen was in the kitchen making breakfast while the mother and son duo are in the living room. Tsunade was in the process of explaining Naruto about his ancestors and their numerous legends and exploits. A 5-year-old Naruto was in the lap of Tsunade, and he was holding an album which contains the pictures of his ancestors. Tsunade flipped pictures in the album whenever she's finished talking about them. She flipped the next page. That's your great-grandfather Nara. He was called as the god of shinobi in his era. He was one of the 3 clan heads that founded the Leaf Village. Tsunade explained, showing a person's photo in the album. The picture was of a tall man with tan skin and dark eyes. He had waist-length black hair typically styled in a center-parted fringe that framed his face. He was clad in a dark red metal armor worn over a simple black suit with sandals. This armor formed into multiple protective guards along his body. Each collar of his shoulder guards bore the Senju symbol. He wore the leaf headband in his forehead proudly. Great-grandpa looks awesome. Mom, tell me more, asked an excited Naruto, turning his head a little high and back towards his mother. Tsunade nodded and Naruto turned back to the picture. He fought and defeated the Uchiha clan leader Madara Uchiha. After that he made peace by ending the long-running clan wars between Senju and Uchiha. Tsunade explained. Naruto felt some type of unknown hate inside him when heard the name Madara Uchiha, but he didn't pay it any mind. What was his name, Mom? Naruto asked in awe, still staring at the picture. Hashirama Senju. Tsunade said with pride in her voice. Hashirama Senju, Naruto muttered while tenderly touching the picture. Mom, someday I will become an even more powerful shinobi, who will surpass great-grandpa. Naruto Senju, believe it? He said with determination. Yes, I believe it, Tsunade said, gently ruffling his hair. Then she flipped the next picture. In the next picture there was a tall person with silver shaggy hair, and he had red-colored eyes. He had 3 red markings on his face, 1 under each of his eyes and 1 on his chin. He wore blue armor with a distinctive white fur collar over a simple black suit. This armor was constructed from numerous metal plates, formed into multiple protective guards along his body. Beneath his shoulder armor he wore 2 extra shoulder guards on each arm. He wore a hapuri which was engraved with leaf emblem on his forehead instead of the more traditional forehead protector. He is my grand-uncle, younger brother of my grandfather. Tobirama Senju. Tsunade said. So he is my great-grand-uncle? Naruto inquired, looking at the picture of Tobirama. Yes, he is. He was the best when it came to strategy making and adapting to any kind of battle far faster than anyone else. When he and your great-grandfather were on battlefield, it was a nightmare for all their enemies. Tsunade recited her childhood stories to her son. I need a brother like him too, Naruto muttered. Far away in Leaf Village, a certain pineapple hair-styled kid in the Nara clan compound suddenly sneezed. He was lying on grass in his garden watching the clouds. I guess someone is thinking about you. His father, who was also lying with him in the garden, said, Why do I feel like I will become a brother/advisor to a troublesome friend in future? He muttered out loud, What a drag. The kid mumbled out loud again after a few moments, and went back to his cloud watching. Back in Senju compound land of waves. Mom, who is he? Naruto inquired, pointing to another picture. The picture showed an elderly man, who had long red hair, mustache and a squared-off goatee. He also wore an armor like Hashirama, but it does not have the shoulder guards. Under the armor, he wore a long-sleeved black outfit, the shoulders of which bore the crest of Uzushiogakure. He had 2 swords which have curved handles that are strapped to his back. He wore a forehead protector with Uzumaki emblem displayed proudly on his forehead. He is Ashina Uzumaki, my great-grandfather from my grandmother Mito Uzumaki's side. My grandfather. She paused and ruffled Naruto's hair and continued, Your great-grandfather Hashirama, Uchiha clan leader Madara Uchiha, and your great-great-grandfather Ashina Uzumaki founded the Leaf Village. She explained. Uzumaki? Naruto asked in confusion. Uzumaki and Senju are brothers, if I have to say particularly. It was said that the founders of these 2 clans are the children of the same father, so that's why Senju and Uzumaki always have good relations. She said with pride. Sweet. Can we meet them? Naruto asked with excitement. Tsunade did not know how to say it to her innocent son, but the truth has to be told at some point, so she thought, why not now? Nary, you can't meet them. She paused, taking a deep breath, and continued. They were targeted by 3 villages in the Second Shinobi World War. Cloud, Stone and Mist made sure that the Uzumaki village was destroyed. She informed her son sadly. Naruto's eyes started to water. His innocent mind could not comprehend why anyone would destroy a village full of innocent people like that. But why? He asked with eyes full of tears. Tsunade wiped Naruto's eyes and asked, You remember the legend I told you about the Sage of the 6 Paths? At Naruto's nod she continued, Senju, Uchiha and Uzumaki were the descendants of the sage. Senjus have inherited the sage's bodily prowess, Uchihas have inherited the sage's visual prowess, and Uzumaki have inherited the sage's unique chakra and his most treasured tools. Unique chakra and treasured tools? Naruto questioned with confusion. Uzumaki's chakra is far denser than the regular human's chakra. Their chakra was able to hold down even the mightiest of the tailed beasts. No weapon or jutsu was able to break the adamantine chains created by their unique chakra. It was said that my grandmother Mito Uzumaki held down the 9-tailed fox which was covered in Madara Uchiha's Susanoo protection along with him using her adamantine chains, when he was defeated by my grandfather Hashirama. Tsunade made sure to subtly leave out the part about Mito becoming the first Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Naruto doesn't know why he is feeling satisfied all of a sudden from inside when heard that Madara Uchiha along with his Susanoo were held down by his great-grandmother Mito Uzumaki, but he paid it no mind. Wow, my great-grandmother is awesome, believe it! He shouted, raising a fist to the sky. Anyway, back to the topic. Tsunade continued, coming back to the reason why Uzumaki were targeted by the 3 villages. Along with Sage's unique chakra and his most treasured tools, Uzumaki's also inherited Sage's knowledge in sealing techniques. Their sealing methods were so legendary that they made the other villages to become wary of their power. When the 3 villages were itching for a war with the Leaf Village, they knew for sure that the Uzuramkis will come for the Leaf's aid, so they made truce between each other for a short period of time and banded together to destroy Land of Whirlpools first. After the Uzumakis were destroyed, Cloud retrieved all of the sage's treasured tools from the Land of Whirlpools as spoils of war. Tsunade stopped to wipe some tears she was having herself. Mom? Naruto asked, concerned as he noticed his mother wiping her eyes. It's nothing, some dirt got into my eye. That's all, Tsunade replied to her son, who nodded. Why didn't Leaf Village help the Land of Whirlpools? Naruto asked with some anger that Leaf did not help the Uzumaki. My grand-uncle has made my sensei Hiruzen Sarutobi the 3rd Hokage just before he sacrificed himself as a decoy when he and his pupils were ambushed by 20 rogue Cloud Jonins, being led by Ginkaku and Kinkaku brothers, at the meeting place where the peace talks between Leaf and Cloud are to take place. These rogue Cloud ninja did not want Leaf and Cloud to become allies, so they attacked both my grand-uncle's squad and the squad of the 2nd Raikage too. Before my sensei can come back to Leaf and take full responsibility as the 3rd Hokage and analyze the situation, the attack on Uzumaki happened by the combined effort of Cloud, Stone and Mist. Tsunade informed. But Mom, if Cloud wanted to be allied with Leaf, then why did they plan to attack Land of Whirlpools even before they met with Great-Grandpa Tobirama? Naruto questioned, catching on. Before these rogue ninja can implement their ambush attack on both the 2nd Hokage and the 2nd Raikage, they had spread a rumor in Cloud that the Raikage will be assassinated by Leaf at the meeting place. They cleverly spread this rumor after the 2nd Raikage left the village for peace meetings, so the Raikage doesn't know about this cause he was out of the village when the rumor had spread. She paused to make sure Naruto was following. At his understanding nod she continued, As the rumor started to spread, Cloud Village Council made a backup plan to attack Land of Whirlpools in case if the rumor is true, so they can cut the Leaf Village off from its ally. So as soon as they heard the news of their Raikage's death, they attacked Land of Whirlpools along with Stone and Mist. Before Grandpa Hiruzen can even come back to Leaf and know about the attack? Naruto asked calmly, staring at the picture of Ashina Uzumaki. Tsunade was surprised at his calmness but still nodded and said, an army of over 50,000 ninjas from all 3 villages combined were deployed to take down the Uzumaki at first. After that another 20,000 ninjas were sent again. What happened? Naruto asked in surprise, facing his mother. Why did the 3 villages need that many ninja to defeat Land of Whirlpools? I did say the Uzumakis were legendary, didn't I? Tsunade said with a small smile. The first wave of 50,000 enemy ninjas was wiped out by the Uzumakis with their skills and abilities, but they were already exhausted by the time when the additional army was sent. So they lost the battle. Even though the Uzumaki were destroyed in this battle, only 1,000 enemy ninja were left alive after the battle. My sensei heard about the attack after it started, so he deployed troops to help the Uzumaki. It took 3 days for Leaf ninjas to arrive Land of Whirlpools to help the Uzumaki, but by then Uzumakis were already destroyed, and some surviving members went into hiding, scattered all over the elemental nations. She finished explaining. She was surprised to see Naruto deep in thought while staring at the picture of Ashina Uzumaki. She expected him to be angry at Hiruzen or angry at the Cloud Village, but she didn't expect him to be calmly thinking. His face was set like he was thinking about what to say next, so the Cloud Village only went along with the plan, because they were misinformed about the cause of their Raikage's death? That means they really do want the peace talks to happen and be allies with Leaf, don't they? Naruto summarized, still staring at the picture. Tsunade was surprised cause she didn't expect Naruto to actually be able to think from the perspective of Cloud. Well, he's not wrong, she thought to herself, because she knew that Cloud was misled by the Kinkaku and Ginkaku brothers. Yeah, Cloud also wanted the peace, because even the Cloud Village has experienced the pain caused by the wars. Tsunade replied. She then remembered her old friend and teammate's words to her. Your uncle Jiraiya used to say that, knowing what it feels to be in pain, is exactly why we try to be kind to others. Cloud and Leaf wanted to end the bloodshed, because they know the pain caused by wars. But you said Cloud Village realized that they were misled by the rogue ninja, right? So why didn't they try to make peace again? Naruto asked in confusion. They did send a diplomat to sign the peace treaty 2 years ago, but it was all a plot to kidnap someone from the Leaf. Tsunade said, remembering the Hyuga affair. What? Why would they do that? Naruto shouted. In order to protect something that's precious, wars are waged. As long as there is love in this world, there will always be hate. Tsunade said, reciting her own experiences. But how does love cause hatred? Protecting something precious to someone is always correct. Right, Mom? Naruto's innocent mind can't comprehend what his mom was saying. Yes, Naru, it's correct, Tsunade replied. But before Naruto can say something, she continued again. But when we were trying to protect our loved ones in Leaf Village, we ended up taking away someone else's loved ones in Cloud Village. And this caused hatred in the hearts of those who lost their loved ones. So as long as there is love in this world, there will always be hate. Naruto questioned his mother, repeating her earlier words. Tsunade nodded and said, and some people will take advantage of that hatred. As long as we have this ninja system, this monster known as hate will live. It will give birth to even more hatred. Cloud, Stone and Mist may have destroyed Land of Whirlpools, but if you look deeper, then you could say that this disordered shinobi world created hatred in the hearts of those villages and killed all the Uzumakis. Naruto turned his face back to the album. Disordered shinobi world? He muttered in deep thought, while gently touching the picture of Ashina. To be a ninja, you must confront hatred. And every one of us must battle against that hatred. Tsunade said to her still thoughtful son. She expected him to shout like a stubborn child, but he surprised her by actually understanding each and every word of her. Being a ninja is to battle the cycle of hatred, each and every day for the rest of our lives. The mother and son duo turned towards the source of the voice and found Jiraiya leaning on the wall right next to their window. Naruto slowly got out of his mother's lap and stood facing the two Sannin and held the picture of Ashina Uzumaki to his heart, and said, well then, when I become a ninja, I'm going to break that cycle of hatred one day. If there is truly such a thing as peace in this world, then somehow I'm going to find it, and I will never stop looking. Tsunade gasped as she stood up and put her hands on her mouth, and Jiraiya almost slipped and fell on the floor when they both heard Naruto's words. They both thought they saw a visage of smiling Minato over Naruto for a second. Jiraiya was the first to recover from his surprise as he came up to Naruto and kneeled in front of him and put his hands on the boy's shoulders and said, even I can tell that hatred is spreading. I wanted to do something about it, but I don't know what. I believe that someday the day will come when people will truly understand one another. If I can't find the answer, it will be up to you to do it. I will find the answer, believe it. Naruto shouted, raising his fist in the air, which made Tsunade and Jiraiya to smile. What did I miss? Shizen asked quizzically when she entered with a tray full of breakfast for everyone and saw Tsunade and Jiraiya smiling proudly at Naruto. Few moments later, alright Naruto, why don't you go out and play with Shizen? Said Jiraiya. Shizen caught on to what he was implying and took Naruto outside, leaving Tsunade and Jiraiya alone. What is it? Tsunade asked, getting right to the point. Naruto is growing up. I saw him getting sad whenever a father was mentioned in the stories you read for him. Soon he would ask questions about his father. Jiraiya replied. I know, Tsunade said, feeling upset. When you feel the time is right, inform him about his parents. He has every right to know. Jiraiya advised and handed her a picture of Kushina and Minato. I will, she said, and accepted the picture. As this was going on, no one was able to notice a very certain bird flying away from the branch of a large tree, from which one can observe the Senju house, some unknown location. So, is he the one that we were told about? An unknown booming voice questioned the other presence, who was standing at attention facing the one who questioned. You know the answer for your question very well, just as I do, the other presence replied. Let's hope we're right, the first one said. With all due respect, the second presence said, and then bowed their heads signifying their respect towards the first presence, and continued to say, we don't hope we know. Senju residence, land of waves. Since Naruto is 5 years old now and has already expressed his desire to become a ninja, Tsunade decided to start his ninja training. At the moment, Tsunade, Shizen and Naruto are in the playground in front of their house. Eevee, who is as big as a regular dog now, is also in the playground lying in the shade of a tree. Naruto is wearing the t-shirt with the dabbing monkey, gifted to him by Hiruzen. He thought it looks good on him. Tsunade thought she should explain the details of chakra to her son first. Huh? Chakra? Is it something related to cats? Was Naruto's question. Tsunade and Shizen would have laughed at how he just called chakra as chakra if it wasn't for Naruto's adorable confused expression. It's not chakra Naru, it's chakra, Shizen said while ruffling Naruto's blonde hair. When she saw her brother curiously looking at her with those ocean blue eyes, she continued. Chakra is essential for most of the ninja techniques, and it is created when physical energy and spiritual energy of a person are molded together. Physical energy and spiritual energy? Naruto asked, scratching his head. Physical energy is collected from the person's body strength and can be increased through regular training and exercises, whereas spiritual energy is derived from the person's consciousness of mind and can be increased through studying, meditation and experience. And when the person learns to mold these two energies properly, then he can harness chakra to perform most of the ninja techniques. Tsunade explained for her son. So without chakra, one cannot be a ninja? Naruto asked, scratching his chin, looking sideways, seemingly in thought. Nope, it was Tsunade who answered. Huh. Chakra is essential for most of the ninja techniques, however chakra is not that important to be a ninja, Tsunade said, but when she saw the questioning look on her son's face, she continued again. In the Leaf Village there was a genin in the past with the name Might Dway, who was not able to mold chakra properly, but he was still able to fight all the previous 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He killed 4 of them before dying. His bravery and sacrifice have become so much legendary that it sent a ripple in the ninja world. People all over the elemental nations are still talking about how a single leaf genin was able to fight all 7 swordsmen of the mist alone. Now his legacy is being continued by his son, a jounin named Might Guy. He also has a birth condition which causes him to not be able to mold chakra properly, but he conquered that obstacle and became a taijutsu specialist. And he is now an A-rank ninja. It was rumored that Might Guy may be able to give your uncle Jiraiya a hard time. Wow, Naruto said in awe, imagining Might Dway and Might Guy as the heroes Son Goku and Gohan from his other favorite television series. But then he asked again, so chakra is essential for most of the ninja techniques, but not completely necessary to be a ninja? Yes. His mother replied. Cool, Naruto shouted, raising a fist to the sky. He then looked at his mother and asked, how can I start to mold chakra? You have to first sit down in a meditative position and clear your mind. Shizen said and showed Naruto how to sit in meditative position. Naruto followed her example and took a meditative position. Shizen then showed a ram hand sign to him and said, this is a ram hand sign, it will help you focus. Naruto did the ram hand sign. When Shizen saw that Naruto was ready, she continued again, close your eyes and try to clear your mind. Try to reach your inner depths and try to feel for an essence inside. When you find it, try to pull it. Naruto did as his sister said and tried to look for the essence. His mother and sister were observing him carefully. After 15 minutes of trying, he opened his eyes. I can't feel any essence inside me, he said, puffing his cheeks like a stubborn child. Tsunade and Shizen laughed at his reaction and Tsunade said, it takes some time to mold chakra for the first time. So we can't be sure how long this may take. When I was doing it for the first time, it took me 7 days to unlock my chakra. For me it was 10 days. Shizen said to her brother. 10 days. Naruto shouted in shock. Well, anyway, keep trying until you feel an essence inside of you, don't worry, you'll get it eventually. His mother encouraged him. So Naruto closed his eyes again. Tsunade, Shizen and Eevee, who also joined them now, were watching Naruto carefully. 30 minutes later, it has been half an hour and Naruto is still in meditation trying to feel for his chakra. Shizen was surprised at how concentrated he must be to be able to meditate for that long. When she was a child, she got irritated for every 5 minutes when she was unable to unlock her chakra. Tsunade, Shizen and Eevee were under a tree shade overlooking Naruto's progress. Eevee was resting with its head in Shizen's lap. For the 3 of them, Naruto almost looked like a statue cause he was not making any movements at all. Naruto was trying his hard to find the essence within him. But he was unable to find it in the first 5 minutes when he sat in meditation for the second time. But after that 5 minutes when he could not feel an essence inside him, he got an idea and tried to feel the essence around him. He felt a very strong and peaceful essence all around him. He remembered his sister's words about trying to pull the essence to him when he found it. So for the last 25 minutes he had been trying to pull the essence around him into himself. Tsunade, Shizen and Eevee immediately understood something was wrong as soon as distortions started to form in the air around Naruto. After just a few more seconds, the space around Naruto's eyes slowly started to get a very small but still vibrant red color. Naruto, Tsunade said in surprise as she stood up. Naruto, who was disturbed by his mother calling his name, released his ram hand sign. As soon as he released his hand sign, the color around his eyes faded, and he opened his eyes. "Mom?" he questioned, seeing the surprised look on his mother, shocked look on his sister's face, and baffled expression on Eevee. Yup, even animals can show expressions in their own way. Tsunade recovered from her surprise and said, "That's enough for today, Naru, it's time for lunch. Let's try again some other day." "But Mom, I think I can feel the essence now," he started to protest. "No, Naru, you need to take rest before you try again," she told him. "Okay," he conceded. "Let's go, Eevee," he called for his partner. The fox, who was now out of her own shock, realized that Naruto was calling her, and ran up to him. After both Naruto and Eevee were out of sight, Shizen asked her sensei, "Lady Tsunade, what was that?" Tsunade was silent for a few minutes as she was observing the patch of grass on which Naruto was meditating until now. There seems to be glow in the grass that was not there before, and there also seems to be a small growth. After a few moments of thinking deeply, she finally replied her student, "Let's wait for the answers till Jiraiya comes. It has been 3 days since the strange event happened with Naruto when he tried to unlock his chakra." Naruto and Eevee were playing fetch out in the playground while Shizen was watching over them. Tsunade has a hunch that she knew what was going on, but she has to be sure. She had sent a message for Jiraiya on that very day. She is now in her study room going through all her grandfather's and granduncle's journals and their research that were available for her to see if she was right. "It seems my godson has various ways to give you headaches often these days," Jiraiya stated, sitting on the tree branch which is nearest to the window in the study room. "It seems so, but in a positive way, I guess," Tsunade said as she opened the glass window for Jiraiya to enter the room. "Tell me," Jiraiya asked. After 30 minutes of explaining, "Do you think it is what I think it is?" Tsunade inquired after she completed explaining what happened. Jiraiya stayed quiet for some moments, and then he released a sigh and said, "Let's not jump to any conclusions hastily. But to know what this is we need someone with vast knowledge." Then he proceeded to bite his thumb to draw blood. Tsunade understood what he meant, and she also bit her thumb while making sure to not look at the blood and did hand signs for a very particular jutsu. Both Sannin completed their hand signs at exactly the same time and slammed their hands on the ground, summoning jutsu. The figures of Fukasaku and Katsuyu can be seen as the smoke started to dissipate slowly. Fukasaku and Katsuyu noticed each other's presence as soon as smoke dissipated fully. "Lord Fukasaku," Katsuyu greeted Fukasaku, as she bowed her head in respect. Fukasaku returned the gesture by bowing his own head in respect and greeted Lady Katsuyu. He then turned to Jiraiya and asked, "What's the matter, Jiraiya boy?" Jiraiya and Tsunade explained everything to Fukasaku and Katsuyu. After a few minutes of thought, Fukasaku said, "I can't say anything until I see it for myself." Katsuyu nodded at his words, agreeing with him, and said, "Yes, my lady." "Where is Naruto-kun? We may have to observe this time to see what this phenomenon actually is." Tsunade nodded, agreeing, and led them outside where Naruto is with Eevee and Shizen. "Eevee, catch!" Naruto shouted, throwing a flying disc, which Eevee caught in midair with an impressive display of her acrobatic skills. "Naru, come here!" Tsunade called her son, to which Naruto replied, "Coming, Mom." Then both him and Eevee sprinted towards Tsunade. As soon as he reached his mother, he hugged her at waist level. Tsunade ruffled his blonde hair and said, "Naru, meet Lord Fukasaku, he's one of the 2 great sage toads." Naruto took a glance at Fukasaku and asked in confusion, "One of the 2 great sage toads?" "Yes. And he is the one that taught your uncle Jiraiya," his mother replied. "Wow," Naruto said in excitement, and ran up to Fukasaku and asked, "Lord Fukasaku, is it true?" Fukasaku laughed at his enthusiasm and replied, "Yes, my boy." "Cool, so how did you put up with his perviness?" Naruto questioned. Jiraiya fell face first in the ground in a comical way. Tsunade, Shizen and Katsuyu were trying to maintain a poker face but are falling miserably, and Eevee barked, agreeing with Naruto. "Well, Naruto boy, he may be a pervert, but he still is the best student I've ever got the chance to train." Fukasaku replied, laughing heartily. "Hey, I'm not a pervert," Jiraiya started to say as he was standing up, but was interrupted when all those present there completed his dialogue by shouting, "You're a super pervert." When Jiraiya heard that, he felt so proud of himself and raised both his hands in the air showing thumbs up and said, "That's right, I'm a super pervert." "Well, anyway, we are here to help you unlock your chakra," Naruto-kun, Lady Katsuyu said, bringing them back to topic. "Sweet, can we start now?" Naruto said in excitement. "Yes, Naruto boy, try unlocking your chakra again," Fukasaku replied. "Alright." Naruto shouted and immediately sat down in meditative position and held ram hand sign to feel for the essence again. All those present there kept on observing him carefully. For almost 20 minutes nothing happened and Naruto sat there like a statue. But then both Fukasaku and Katsuyu felt something similar but at the same time strange occurrence happening around Naruto. The air around Naruto started forming distortions. It was invisible to a naked eye but both Fukasaku and Katsuyu can sense what was happening. After 5 more minutes the area around Naruto's eyes started to form a very small but still vibrant shade of red-colored pigmentation. Fukasaku, Katsuyu and Jiraiya were shocked at this strange occurrence, whereas Shizen and Tsunade were not surprised cause they already witnessed this strange occurrence before. Naruto boy! Fukasaku called, interrupting Naruto, who released his hand sign causing the vibrant red-colored pigmentation around his eyes to fade, and he opened his eyes. Did I do something wrong, Fukasaku-sama? Naruto asked with a sad face, thinking that it's his fault that he could not unlock chakra. No, my boy, you didn't do anything wrong, but tell me what actually happened during the time you were in meditation? Fukasaku asked, trying his best to hide his surprise and curiosity. Well, whenever I meditate I can feel this very strong essence all around me. And my sister said that in order to unlock my chakra I have to pull the essence. So I was trying to pull the essence into me, he replied. Then he released a sigh and continued, I think I almost got it this time too, but I couldn't do it. Fukasaku masked his surprise with a sagely smile and replied, Alright my boy, now try meditating again, and this time only search for the essence within you and not from around you. When you feel the essence within you, then try to pull it. Naruto nodded and went back to meditation and held a ram hand sign again. He felt the essence around him again, but this time he didn't try to pull it. He ignored it for now and kept searching within him. All those present were observing for any abnormalities. It took almost an hour, but Naruto thought he felt an essence within him. So he immediately latched onto it and tried to pull it. After a few more minutes all those present there felt a very dense chakra being released from Naruto. The hair on the back of their neck stood up as very dense and bright blue chakra exploded from the boy. Spiderweb cracks started to form on the ground from the point where he was sitting as the chakra started to swirl around him wildly. All those present there had to hold their hands up in front of their face due to the shock waves, and Evie was hiding behind Tsunade's legs, but she still kept peeking at Naruto. Only Fukasaku and Katsuyu remained unaffected and kept on observing the proceedings. When the chakra was still flaring, he felt like he can see how many people are there in front of him with pinpoint accuracy with his eye closed. He could also tell all those other animals in the forest too. He thought that maybe all ninjas can sense everything like how he just did with chakra. The chakra kept on flaring for almost a minute and then started to slowly dissipate and recede back into him, and then the boy opened his eyes. He grinned at his mom and tried to stand, but his legs started to shake and he fell down. Tsunade ran up to her son and picked him up. Mom, I feel so weak, Naruto said, taking in large gulps of air. I know, Naru, it's because you unlocked your chakra for the first time, Tsunade said, having happy tears. I did it, Mom? Naruto questioned while his eyes started to droop. Yes, you did it, Naru, I'm so proud of you. Tsunade replied lovingly, and Naruto closed his eyes, going into a well-needed sleep with a small smile on his face. Tsunade kept hugging her boy while Shizen also approached her and caressed her brother's cheek. As the family was enjoying the moment, Jiraiya, Fukasaku and Katsuyu were observing the area where Naruto was meditating. It seemed as if the grass patches in between the cracks on the ground have a glow of nature that was not there before, and like before there seems to be a small growth again. Such a superior life force. I've never witnessed anything like this before. Katsuyu thought out loud. Indeed it is, but how can he do that? Fukasaku muttered out loud. Fukasaku-sama and Lady Katsuyu, can you explain us about what you both think about this occurrence? It was Jiraiya who questioned. What we think is something that even we can't believe, Katsuyu said. Shizen and Tsunade came up to them still holding Naruto, and Tsunade asked, Please tell us, we need to know. Well, Tsunade, before he unlocked his own chakra, I think your son was somehow able to gather nature chakra. Fukasaku dropped the bomb. The nature chakra he gathered is full of potent life force. Katsuyu explained her own observation, pointing to the grass patches that are filled with life force after Naruto's first attempt to unlock chakra this day. Even though they suspected it, it was still a shock to Jiraiya and Tsunade when their suspicion was actually confirmed by Fukasaku and Katsuyu. Shizen gasped with hands over her mouth cause she didn't have any clue about it before when Naruto first tried to unlock his chakra. But how is it possible? I thought only Jiraiya-sama can do senjutsu cause he was taught by you, Lord Fukasaku. Shizen all but shouted in surprise. Shizen-chan, Tsunade's grandfather Hashirama, was able to gather nature chakra without the help of any summon animal, Katsuyu informed her. Yes, Lady Katsuyu, but as far as I remember he only achieved it at a later date, when he became a full-fledged ninja, not when he was still a child. It was Tsunade who questioned. That is something even we can't explain, Fukasaku said, and after a few seconds he continued again. Senju and Uzumaki were relatives. So it's possible that you raising him and feeding him made the Senju genes to be dominant within him. I think he could have inherited the ability to gather nature chakra from his ancestor Hashirama. We all know that sometimes genes skip generations, and maybe Naruto-kun is the true descendant of Hashirama, Katsuyu explained her opinion. But I've seen my grandfather using senjutsu. His senjutsu gives him green pigmentation. If my son has inherited this ability from my grandfather, then why his senjutsu gives him vibrant red pigmentation? Tsunade pointed out. Fukasaku rubbed chin in thought, and said, As far as I know, Tsunade no senjutsu known to humans has this much life force in it. So there is no explanation about what it is, and how your son has managed to achieve it, but one thing is certain. Which is? Tsunade inquired. Your son has true potential within him. Fukasaku replied. Tsunade, after hearing those words, took a long glance at her sleeping son. Jiraiya, who was silent from the moment it was confirmed that Naruto is in fact gathering nature chakra, decided to say his opinion now. I think it would be best if you start teaching him normal methods, and I will teach him how to utilize senjutsu properly when I think he is ready. Until then, make sure he doesn't try to gather nature chakra again. It will be dangerous if he could not control it properly. He said to Tsunade. That's a good idea, Fukasaku said, agreeing with Jiraiya. Tsunade glanced at her sleeping son, and after a few seconds she replied, Alright, but please try to find out about what his senjutsu refers to. We will see what we can do to find about vibrant red-colored senjutsu, replied Katsuyu, and Fukasaku also nodded, agreeing with Katsuyu. Thank you, Lord Fukasaku and Lady Katsuyu. Tsunade thanked them. Both summons nodded to their summoners and then disappeared in a puff of smoke, returning back to their respective realms to investigate more about the strange occurrence they witnessed today. Tsunade and Shizen started walking back towards the house while Eevee was just one step behind them. Jiraiya stood there observing the patch of grass between the cracks on which few squirrels and some small birds are resting now. He turned back to take a glance at his godson in Tsunade's arms and thought, true potential indeed. Life has been happy and memorable for Temari's family for the last 5 years. She is now 8 years old and is now 3.9 foot taller. She had already started training under her mother Karura for 3 years till now. She actually did not join the academy yet, but still learned the basic 3 academic jutsus that are needed for her to qualify as a genin. She could now lift her mother's giant folding fan with only a little difficulty. Her mother thought of teaching her the prospects of chakra natures, but decided that she should wait till Temari to join the academy. Kankuro also started his training 2 years ago and can now perform basic academy jutsus like his sister. It was night time and Temari had just finished her regular training. She was walking towards her room to get to bed. On her way, she noticed that the door to Kankuro's room is left open. She kept walking towards her room and just glanced inside when she passed by his room. She only walked forward 4 feet and stopped mid-step when it clicked in her mind about what she saw in her 7-year-old brother's room. Without turning back, she reverse walked 4 feet and came right up to her brother's open door. She slowly turned towards Kankuro's room. Kankuro, what you doing? She asked quizzically. As soon as he heard his sister, Kankuro tried his best to hide whatever he's been doing earlier and childishly shouted, None of your business. Karura came up along with a 5-year-old Gaara to see what the commotion is about. What's the matter? She asked her daughter. I saw Kankuro, Temari started to say and paused, trying to find the right words. After a few seconds she said again, I saw Kankuro playing with dolls, and then she pointed to Kankuro's hands, which he was trying desperately to hide behind his back. They're not dolls. They're my puppets, Kankuro shouted. His face almost resembled that of a tomato with embarrassment. Puppets? Karura asked, sounding interested. Yes, Mom, I want to become a great puppet master like Lady Chio, Kankuro said excitedly. He was so distracted in his excitement that he didn't notice his younger brother Gaara sneaking behind him. A puppet master like Lady Chio, Karura said, feeling happy that her son chose the most legendary ninja technique of the Sand Village. She then ruffled his hair and started to say, I'm so proud of why, but she was not able to finish as Gaara interrupted his mom. Mom, aren't those the Barbie dolls that I saw in TV today? He asked, pointing to something in Kankuro's hands which he is trying so hard to hide behind his back. He did not spell the word correctly as he is too young. Gaara. When did you? Kankuro started to say in surprise but was not able to finish as his mom directed a pointed look at him. Barbie dolls? Karura asked quizzically. I think it's Barbie dolls, Temari said, answering her mother with a sigh. Kankuro looked like he wanted to say something but he was not able to as Gaara took the dolls right out of Kankuro's hands and ran up to his mother. Mom, see Barbie dolls. They look exactly like what I saw in TV. Gaara said in confusion, showing his mother 2 Barbie dolls. One doll has blonde hair and the other has red hair. As soon as she saw the Barbie dolls, Karura's eyes became the size of dish plates. She opened and closed her mouth 2 or 3 times, not knowing what to say. Temari was trying hard not to laugh, but she was failing miserably, while Kankuro's face was red with embarrassment. Gaara was just confused about how the 2 dolls that looked like what he saw in TV can be in real life. Kankuro, Karura started to say but paused, trying to find words that won't hurt her son's feelings. What were you doing with these Barbie dolls? She inquired after a few seconds. Mom, Kankuro started to say as he was sweating comically. Then he got an idea. I'm trying to find a way to make puppets out of Barbie dolls, he exclaimed. Karura and Temari looked at Kankuro like he grew a second head and a third leg, while Gaara was still looking confused about the doll's existence in real life. Okay, Kankuro, Karura said after a few moments, deciding not to question her son's weird habits. She took the dolls from Gaara and returned them to Kankuro. She then picked up Gaara. Let's go and see your father, Gaara. He said he wishes to meet you in his office. She told her youngest son, who nodded, feeling excited to meet his father. Then Karura left along with Gaara. Only Kankuro and Temari were in the room now, and the later was still having trouble to control her laughter. After a few seconds, when Temari still didn't leave, Kankuro shouted, What? Temari pointed to something that was on Kankuro's bedside table. If you're trying to find a way to make puppets out of Barbie dolls, then what are you doing with that? She asked in between laughs. The thing she was pointing to was a Barbie dollhouse. None of your business, get out of my room! Kankuro shouted childishly with a red face. Yeah, Barbie boy, she said, and left Kankuro's room laughing so much that she got tears in her eyes. First you wear makeup and cat suits, now you're playing with dolls. Oh my god, if this goes on you will start stealing my future dates too, she shouted in between uncontrolled laughs as she got to her room and closed the door. Kankuro's face looked like it was about to blast with embarrassment, but he took a long breath to relax. He then tenderly hugged both his dolls to his chest and murmured, "Don't feel sad, Casey and Dana, she doesn't mean it." Then he removed them from his chest and brought them to his eye level and said with a stupid grin, "Now let's go back to our tea party." 15 minutes later, Kazekage Tower. Raza was in deep thought about how to tell his son about the news regarding him. After a few moments the silence was broken when his assistant opened the door and spoke. "Kazekage-sama, Lady Karura and your son Gaara are here to see you." Raza released a sigh and replied, "Send them in please." His assistant nodded and left to do as she was asked. Few minutes later his wife and son came in. "Dad!" Gaara shouted and ran up to his father, who picked him up and set him on his lap. Karura came up and sat near the father and son duo. "Hey buddy, what did you do today?" Raza asked his son. "Nothing, Dad, but elder brother has the dolls that I saw in TV," replied Gaara. Raza rose an eyebrow at that and turned towards his wife for an explanation. Karura gave her husband a look that said, "Don't ask me." Raza just shrugged and decided to inform his son what he wanted to tell. "Gaara, I have something to tell you," Raza said, to which Gaara nodded, letting his father know that he is listening. After 20 minutes of explanation, Raza had explained his son about everything that was discussed with the council when Gaara was born. So Gaara started to say and paused, trying to understand what he was just told by his father. He then continued again, "In order to maintain the safety of the village, I have to become the guardian of the sand." By being a Jinsi, he tried to repeat the word his father said, but he couldn't. Jinchuriki, Raza completed for his son. He then continued, "But remember, it's your choice. If you don't want to, then you don't need to," Raza explained. "Can I protect our family, if I become the guardian?" Gaara questioned. "Yes, Gaara, you can protect our family along with all the villagers of this village," Raza explained. "Okay, then I will become the guardian of the sand as long as I can keep mom, you, sis and elder brother safe," Gaara said. Raza nodded at his youngest son's words approvingly. He was about to say something but was interrupted by Gaara, who said, "But only on one condition, Dad." "What is it, Gaara?" Raza inquired. "If anyone tries to harm our family, then in the name of the desert that we hold dear, I will make sure that they will face my wrath, even if they are in heaven or hell. And I don't care whoever it is, and even if it is this village or its villagers," Gaara declared. Raza and Karura were wide-eyed with shock that their youngest son just declared an ominous warning of war, which is often used in ancient times of the Sand Village to all those who try to harm their family. Raza recovered from his shock and proudly nodded at his son, agreeing with him. Karura picked up her son. "I'm sure you will keep your word, Gaara," she said with happy tears. Gaara got a smile on his face and lifted his right fist to the sky and exclaimed, "I will believe it." Far away Senju compound, land of waves. Naruto sneezed loudly all of a sudden when he was just about to throw the flying disc for Eevee to catch, and his momentum caused him to fall face first in the grass. Eevee ran up to him and started to lick him. Naruto rose up to a sitting position in deep thought, and Eevee got a confused expression as to his sudden change. After a few moments, Naruto turned towards Eevee and asked, "Eevee, why do I feel like someone just stole my line?" Making sure to put emphasis on the words "my line," Eevee just turned her head left to right, conveying the message that she doesn't know what he's talking about. Back at Kazekage Tower Sand Village, Raza ruffled his son's hair, who is still in Karura's hands, and said, "I'm proud of you, Gaara." Karura smiled and put Gaara down. "Gaara, why don't you wait outside? I will come in a minute." Gaara nodded and ran out. When Gaara was out of the office, Karura turned to her husband. "When are you going to carry out the process?" she inquired, referring to the process of sealing Shikaku into Gaara. "Unfortunately, Sand Village doesn't have the sealing knowledge required for properly sealing Shikaku," Raza replied. Karura got confused expression and asked, "Then how are you gonna finish the sealing?" "I am gonna ask the Leaf Village for granting the legendary Sannin Jiraiya's services. To properly do the sealing, he is now the best when it comes to sealing since the death of the 4th Hokage." He explained his idea. "Whom do you think the Leaf will help, if they find out that we are asking their services for creating a Jinchuriki for ourselves?" Karura questioned. "That is something even I want to know," he started to say. Then he turned around and went to the balcony behind his desk to look at his village and said, "For the elemental nations, Leaf and Sand are allies, but I want to confirm whether they're really our ally or is it just for name's sake." After their reply to our request, Karura nodded, agreeing with him, and said, "Let's see if our ally can help us in our time of need." Raza kept silent and kept watching over his village. Unknown location. "As I've said before, we must." Why an unknown presence started to say but never got to finish, as the other presence there interrupted by saying, "With all due respect, time is running out." "What do you mean by time is running out?" the first presence asked with a surprised face. Humanity is vanishing day by day among humans, the other presence started to say, but paused, trying to find a right way to convey the news, and after a few seconds the second presence continued again. There have been large bushfires in a continent with the name Australia, and it killed more than 1 billion of Mother Nature's children. Human-caused climate change increased the chances of experiencing extreme fire weather by at least 30% in that country. Also in another country named India, a pregnant elephant was killed by some people feeding it a fruit loaded with firecrackers. The elephant did nothing to harm people even after it was injured. It was left to suffer in pain for 2 to 3 weeks. It went to a nearest river and stood in river for 3 days to relieve its pain before taking its last breath due to injuries and starvation. Its unborn child was also killed. The second presence stopped feeling remorse. The longer we wait, humanity will vanish even more, and many more of Mother Nature's children will suffer. I see, the first presence replied with remorse-filled voice because of his helplessness. But we can't do anything until the prophecy comes true. The prophecy doesn't only involve the elemental nations, but the entire world. It all depends on his decision. Mom, who are they? Naruto asked, referring to the 2 people present in a picture that was given to him by Tsunade. Tsunade started to say, but paused, trying to think of a best way to explain. After taking a deep breath she continued, before I tell you who they are, I want you to know that you are my son and I love you no matter what. Understand? Mom? Naruto questioned in confusion. Naru, they are your birth parents, she said, and after seeing the sudden shocking expression on her son's face, she continued, they are Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Your father was the 4th Hokage of the Leaf, and your mother was my cousin. After a minute or so Naruto recovered from his shock and started to laugh. Mom, that's a good joke, I almost believed it, he said in between his laughs. Tsunade shook her head and replied with a painful expression on her face, Naru, it's not a joke. Minato and Kushina are your parents. Mom? Naruto started to say and was desperately trying to hide his tears but failing to do so, just like Tsunade. Tearful Tsunade kneeled in front of her son and wiped his tears. I'm not your real MOM. Naruto suddenly awoke from his sleep screaming. His face was sweating and he looked to be in anxiety. He learned of the truth just last night, and cried himself to sleep. Naruto was still in shock to react when the door to his room was torn open from its hinges and Tsunade entered the room. Tsunade ran up to her son and picked him up, but Naruto still didn't react as he was still sweating and was in shock. Tsunade wiped away the sweat on his face with the sleeve of her sleeping robe and then tenderly hugged him. Mom? Naruto said after a few moments with a shaking voice, realizing that he was embraced by his mother. Don't worry, Naru, I'm here, Tsunade replied in a motherly tone, and kissed his forehead. Mom, don't send me away, Naruto said, trying to hold his tears. Tsunade understood his fears and replied, I'm your mother, and you're my son no matter what. She then wiped his tears away with her sleeve. Naruto nodded with a smile and rested his head on her shoulder. Tsunade started to rock him back and forth, and was trying to calm him down by rubbing his back with her left hand and put her head on her son's head. Naruto relaxed in his mother's warm embrace and closed his eyes with a smile. Naru, what happened? Shizen stopped mid-sentence when she saw that Tsunade was cradling her son. She ran as fast as she could towards her brother's room when she heard Naruto's scream. She released a sigh and wiped off some sweat on her forehead with her right forearm. Is he fine now, Lady Tsunade? Shizen inquired. Yes, I'm fine now, sis. It was Naruto who replied, still resting his head on his mother's shoulder. The 3 then fell into a comfortable silence, and Tsunade Shizen took a seat on the bed with Naruto still in his mother's hands. The silence was eventually broken when Naruto lifted his head from Tsunade's shoulder and asked, Mom, can you tell me more about them? Tsunade understood that he was asking about Minato and Kushina. She smiled at her son and replied, Of course, Naru. After 2 hours, so Mom fell in love with Dad when he saved her from Cloud Village ninjas? Naruto inquired. Yes. Tsunade replied. Wow. That's so cool, it's almost like a fairy tale. Naruto shouted with stars in his eyes. Well, it is, Shizen said, ruffling his hair with a smile. Your dad was known as the Yellow Flash before he became Hokage, and your mother was known as the Red Hot Habanero. Tsunade said, remembering the memories she had of her cousin. Why did Cloud Ninja try to kidnap her in the first place? Naruto asked. Well, Lady Kushina was an Uzumaki, and Uzumaki have the unique ability to suppress the tailed beasts. I think Cloud Village tried to kidnap her to make her a Jinchuriki for their village. Shizen thought out loud. A Jinchuriki like me? Naruto questioned with an unsure voice, looking at the floor. Tsunade walked up to her son and kneeled in front of him. Your father chose you to be the 9-tailed fox's Jinchuriki, because he believed that only you can control it. She then put her hand under his chin and lifted his face so he could see her eyes and said, He and your mother truly believed in you, and so do I. Naruto's eyes were filled with happy tears. It's not a curse. All 3 in the room turned towards the source of the voice and found Jiraiya leaning on the wall near the window of the room. He then walked up to Naruto and put his hands on the boy's shoulders and said, It's a gift from your parents. You should not consider it as your weakness, respect that gift as your greatest strength. Naruto wiped his tears away with a smile and hugged his godfather at waist level and said, I will. That's my godson. Jiraiya exclaimed. That evening, after the incident in the morning, Naruto seemed to be able to understand everything clearly. He now knew about his real parents and also knew that, no matter what, Tsunade is still his mom. At present he is out in the playground with Shizen and Evie, leaving Tsunade and Jiraiya alone in Tsunade's study room. What is it? Tsunade asked, coming right to the point. Sensei told me that Sand Village has asked for my assistance in sealing Shikaku the Sand Spirit into a new host. Jiraiya said. Why is Leaf Village getting involved in Sand Village's matters? Tsunade questioned. There are no seal masters in Sand Village. Jiraiya said, but before Tsunade can say something he continued again. And Sensei does not want Leaf and Sand to be allies only on paper. Jiraiya replied. Tsunade understood the inner meaning that the Kazekage wants to see if the Leaf Village will aid them or not in their dire situations. I see, Tsunade said. She looked at her teammate and asked again, so what are you here for? I would like to take Naruto along with me in this journey. Jiraiya dropped the bomb. Outside in the playground, Naruto and Evie were chasing each other in the playground when all of a sudden Naruto got a weird feeling inside which distracted him in mid-run, causing Evie to crash into him, and both fell on the grass in a comical way. Shizen, who was watching the pair, couldn't stop her laugh that broke out when she saw Naruto and Evie falling face first in the grass. Far away in Sand Village training grounds, both Temari and Kankuro were in the training grounds doing their regular training. Temari was in the middle of practicing her mother's specific fighting style with her folding fan when all of a sudden she got a weird feeling inside which distracted her and she lost grip on her folding fan in mid-swing. The fan went straight for Kankuro's head, leaving the makeup boy to curse his sister for being stupid and complain about a bump on his head. Senju Compound, Land of Waves. Naruto rose up to a sitting position and turned towards Evie with a confused expression. Evie? Evie yipped, letting Naruto know that she is listening. Training grounds, Sand Village. Temari approached her brother with a confused expression and helped him to stand up. Kankuro? What? Kankuro said in irritation as he was nursing the bump on his head. Why do I feel like I'm gonna meet someone soon? Both Naruto and Temari said at the same time to their respective companions. Are we there yet? For the 50th time Naruto. Jiraiya started to say, but paused to release a tired sigh and continued again. We will get there, when we get there. Naruto nodded and kept on walking beside his godfather, but then suddenly he realized something and turned towards Jiraiya. So pervy sage, why didn't we stop for a break in the hot springs that we just passed by? If I found out that you have tried to peep on women in my son's presence, you'll get another beating of your lifetime. Jiraiya remembered Tsunade's ominous warning and got a sweat drop on the back of his head. He turned to his godson with an awkward smile and replied, let's get to the Sand Village as fast as we can, Naruto. It's only an hour away now. Naruto nodded and thought, I wonder what Evie is doing now. Forest area just a mile away from Senju Compound. Evie was just roaming around in Senju Compound playgrounds when she heard some whimpering sounds coming from not so far away. With her sensitive hearing curious, she followed the sounds and entered the forest area. She could hear the whimpering sounds of some animals little loudly now. She followed the source and found some thugs who are trying to smuggle the wild animals and also domestic animals stolen from the neighboring villagers. She didn't know they were thugs, but all animals have some sort of a sixth sense, a sense of danger that always alerts them when something bad is gonna happen to them or their kin. As soon as she sensed the malice in those thugs, she started growling ominously. The thugs soon noticed the ominous growls and turned towards Evie. Evie was baring her teeth, and her growls were more feral as soon as the thugs turned towards her. Well, what do we have here? A fox trying to be a hero? A random thug shouted while laughing. Let's catch it too. A red fox's fur has lot of demand in black market. We can gain more money if we sell it, another random thug pointed out. Wait a minute, a red fox? The supposed leader of the gang muttered to himself while sweating bullets. In these surroundings, there is only one red fox, and that belongs to the slug prin. He was not able to finish as Evie interrupted him by growling ominously while baring her teeth at them before making a very loud howl, alerting Tsunade and Shizen, who are just a mile away. How could a red fox howl so loudly? Another random thug shouted in awe and fear. Shit! Everyone leave everything and escape for your lives. The leader of the gang shouted after understanding what Evie just did. Huh! Why should we run? Another random thug who wanted to play hero asked with a smug look. Idiot! That damn fox has just called out for Tsunade Senju, the slug princess, the leader shouted, looking over his back while he was still running away from the scene. As soon as the words left the leader's mouth, each and every thug, including the arrogant one, tried to run away with their tails between their legs. But they could not run far, though, as the ground they have been running has been broken apart by a vicious axe kick falling from the sky, courtesy of Tsunade. More than half of the gang have gotten themselves stuck in the rubble, but the few who escaped the rubble tried to flee. They couldn't, though, as all of them have been hit by senbons laced with paralyzing venom, courtesy of Shizen. Tsunade approached Evie and scratched behind her ears. Always a troublemaker, Evie started making purring noises. Just like Naru, Tsunade muttered with a smile, and Evie yipped, agreeing with her. As soon as Shizen has finished tying up the gang, they were all given the antidote for the venom. Tsunade approached the supposed leader and lifted him up by his collar. So you and your gang are the ones responsible for illegal animal trafficking in Wave? She completed her sentence and brought him to eye level. The leader couldn't do anything but mildly nod in fear. She threw him down harshly. They released all the wild animals into the forest except the domestic animals. Shizen, get Tazuna and ask him to get the villagers and authorities so the animals can go back to their rightful owners. It took some time for the villagers to identify their animals and authorities to take the animal smugglers away to be locked up. By the evening each and every animal was returned back to its owner. Well, let's get back home, Tsunade said, and Shizen nodded. Tsunade, Shizen and Evie just took one step. Oink. All of three of them stopped and turned around. When they found nothing, they just shrugged to each other and tried to walk again. Oink oink. All three of them stopped again but still found nothing. Oink oink oink. All three of them collectively as one looked down. There was a pink-colored baby pig who could not be older than just a day, and it was rubbing its head on Shizen's ankle, affectionately. Its cheeks had blush and a darker shade of the same tint as her skin. Tsunade and Evie were surprised that this baby pig was not sent to its rightful owners where its mother will be. Shizen have the villa. Whatever Tsunade was about to say she wasn't able to finish as soon as she saw the hearts in Shizen's eyes. For the next 10 minutes Tsunade and Evie kept on watching as Shizen was jumping around cuddling the piglet. All Tsunade could do was face palm and drag her palm across from forehead to chin in embarrassment. Sand Village gates. Halt, please state your name and purpose of visit. Questioned the ninja who was guarding the Sand Village gates. Jiraiya here on orders from Leaf Village to assist the 4th Kazekage. It's a classified mission. With me is the Senju heir. Jiraiya said. Even though most haven't met him personally, there's no ninja in the elemental nations who doesn't know the name Jiraiya. So it's no wonder that the ninja who asked the question paled when he heard the name. Jiraiya-sama. Forgive me for not recognizing a Sannin. You and the Senju heir can enter. The ninja said while fidgeting with nervousness, and let them enter the Sand Village. See my cute godson? My reputation precedes me. Jiraiya said with a smug look. He didn't get to maintain it long when Naruto replied, still doesn't change the fact that you're a pervert. Jiraiya fell face first on the ground after hearing that, but he stood up quickly and shouted, Hey, I'm not a pervert. He paused to spread his hands wide, took his signature pose and continued, I'm a super pervert. Silence, pure and utter silence. Everyone around the duo were staring at the Sannin with stupefied looks when they took in his pose and heard him declaring himself as a super pervert. Naruto got a sweat drop at the back of his head and released a sigh before saying, Yeah, let's get going, pervy sage, and started to walk in the direction of the Kazekage Tower. It took only a few seconds, but Jiraiya came down from his sugar high and followed after his godson, while muttering something about disrespectful godsons not appreciating the ways of a super pervert. Kazekage Tower. A few minutes later. Kazekage-sama, Sannin Jiraiya is here to meet you, came the voice of Raza's assistant through the intercom. Raza pressed the button on the intercom and replied, Please send him in. Just a minute later Jiraiya walked in along with Naruto, who was looking at everything in the Kazekage office with awe. After all, this was the first time he was seeing the office of a Kage. Jiraiya-sama. Raza stood up and said while bowing to the Sannin in respect. Kazekage-sama. Jiraiya bowed in return. Naruto came out of his daydreams and was also about to greet Raza, but suddenly the door to the office was slammed open and Kankuro came running inside while looking over his back in fear. He looked like he was running away from something and wasn't paying attention to the front. He ran into Naruto and both kids fell on the floor. But before they could recover, an angry-looking Temari also came running inside and didn't pay attention that Naruto and Kankuro are in the way and knocked herself on them in mid-run, and that made her flew through the air and land on the floor a meter away from the boys. Ouch! The three kids groaned in unison. It took a few seconds, but Naruto stood up and offered his hand to Kankuro with a smile and said, Watch where you're running. Kankuro took the hand and stood up. Yeah dude, sorry about that. It was at this moment that Naruto saw something different with Kankuro and asked, Why are you wearing makeup on your face? Ag, for the last time it's war paint. Kankuro screamed childishly while pulling his hair in a comical way. Naruto just sweat dropped at the makeup boy. But he heard someone clearing their throat and turned. If you're done with my brother's antics, can you please help me up too? Temari requested to the new boy who is younger than her. Naruto nodded with a nervous laugh and approached her to help her up. But just when he was going to offer her his hand, his eyes caught something else. The war fan of Temari has fallen off of her sometime during the scuffle and landed on the floor. Mesmerized by the beauty of the war fan, instead of helping Temari to stand, he went to pick the war fan up. Temari was dumbfounded when he passed by her without offering the hand, but found that he was gonna pick up her war fan. Forget it, kid, it's too heavy for you to pee. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw Naruto lifting her fan with his left hand and was holding it like it was a toothpick or something. Her jaw dropped, and she couldn't form any more words. Jiraiya was cursing in his mind at his godson's stupidity to ignore a girl, while Raza and Kankuro were wide-eyed at how easily a boy no older than 5 years was lifting Karura's war fan easily. Naruto's curiosity was satisfied after getting a good look at the fan for a few moments. And then he remembered about Temari, who is still on the floor. Temari was still in shock when Naruto offered her a hand and lifted her up and returned her war fan. You lifted my war fan? Temari stated with a stupefied expression. Hello, I'm Naruto. Naruto tried to introduce himself awkwardly. It took me 3 years to lift it properly, she continued in anger with a scrutinizing gaze. What's your name? Naruto asked awkwardly, not knowing why the girl is acting this way. That's it, she declared. Huh, you me in the training grounds, let's settle this, Temari announced, and before Naruto could protest, she grabbed his right hand and started dragging him away from the Kazekage office. Okoke, Kankuro started to say with a sweat drop, I think I am gonna go with them to make sure she doesn't break the guy. He completed saying like he knew what was going to happen next and followed his sister and Naruto out. Well, Jiraiya started with a confused expression, that escalated quickly. Raza finished the line mirroring Jiraiya's expression. Temari and Naruto stood facing each other in the desert training ground that was the favoring terrain of sand ninjas. Temari's hands were at her sides ready to draw out the kunai from her hip pouches on both sides. Naruto's hands were at his sides too, but he didn't have any weapon holsters. From the view of Temari's left-hand side, which was ready to throw kunai from the pouches, Naruto can be seen standing 20 feet away. The same with Temari, as she can be seen from Naruto's right-hand side view. In the background, a Western-style cowboy music can be heard. The same music that's usually played in the background when two enemies are facing off. Like this one from YouTube/watch, V equals H1P for MCG FanK of _ channel equals HD Film Tributes. And also for every 30 seconds a random grass bundle can be seen rolling on the ground between Naruto and Temari. Okay, now listen to me, kid, the fight will end when one of us falls on the ground. Only taijutsu is allowed. Any doubts before we start? Temari asked, hands still twitching like she will throw kunai any time. Naruto raised his hand like he was a kid in school with a doubt. Temari sighed and nodded at him to ask, this music, that I'm hearing right now, where is it coming from? Naruto asked, with his face scrunched in confusion. The music stopped suddenly and both Naruto and Temari turned towards Kankuro, who was for some reason wearing a cowboy hat and a fake cigar in his mouth. Kankuro removed his hand from the pause button of the music player, and removed the cigar from his mouth with his left hand and made some motion like he was getting rid of the ashes from the cigar and said, sorry, I thought it would set up the mood for your fight. Then he put the cigar back in his mouth. Temari was about to shout, but Naruto interrupted her. What about this? He asked, pointing to another grass bundle that was rolling on the ground. Kankuro shrugged in a very cowboy-like manner and said, the same reason to set up the mood for your duel. Then he played the music again. Temari was fuming at the stupidity of her brother. She was drawing her fan out to bonk him on the head but was stopped in her tracks when she heard Naruto's next words to Kankuro. That music is from the movie The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, isn't it? Naruto asked excitedly as he approached Kankuro. Temari didn't know whom to hit first on their head, her brother who was being as stupid or Naruto who was going along with that stupidity. Yes, dude, you have seen that movie? Kankuro asked with a surprised expression. Yes, Clint Eastwood is a legendary cowboy, isn't he? Naruto replied with a cowboy hat and a fake cigar in his mouth too. Temari can't understand how Naruto got those all of a sudden. Have you seen A Fist Full of Dollars? Kankuro asked, excited to know someone else shared his likes. Get 3 coffins ready, Naruto said, repeating a line from the movie that Kankuro mentioned, still maintaining the cigar in his mouth. When a man with 45 meets a man with a rifle, you said the man with a pistol's a dead man. Let's see if that's true, Kankuro said with a grin as he extended hand for Naruto to shake. My mistake. 4 coffins. Naruto replied with a proud smile and shook Kankuro's hand firmly. Temari couldn't help but shout, what the hell? Kazekage Tower. Raza seemed to hear his daughter's shout as he turned his head towards the direction of the training grounds where he was sure his eldest children and Naruto are. He just smiled, knowing how competitive his elder daughter can be, and turned his head back to focus on the task at hand. Raza was trying hard to focus all his chakra in suppressing Shikaku as Jiraiya was in the process of sealing the tailed beast into Gaara. Jiraiya explained to him that it would need 2 Kage-level shinobi to perform the sealing. One shinobi will do the sealing process while the other will try to suppress the beast, preventing it from escaping while the sealing process is going on. Raza had his right hand placed on the tea kettle, in which Shikaku is imprisoned for now, and the left hand on the seal that Jiraiya drew on the stomach of Gaara. He was suppressing Shikaku's chakra that is exiting from the tea kettle and also the chakra that is entering Gaara through the seal at the same time. Beads of sweat started to slowly drop down from the temples of Jiraiya as he concentrated his chakra on the 4-symbol seal technique he was performing. It was a predecessor for the 8 trigram seal, which is the strongest sealing method in existence. But since Shikaku is the weakest of tailed beasts, 4-symbol seal is more than enough to contain Shikaku and at the same time allow the user to access the chakra of the said beast with the right training. Gaara can be seen laying unconsciously on a ceremonial altar that was summoned by Jiraiya. The ceremonial altar was surrounded by 4 lit candles that are placed around it in a diamond formation. It was Jiraiya's idea to keep Gaara unconscious, so as to avoid him experiencing the chakra strain from the forceful inclusion of the beast's chakra. He was surprised when Sand came to Gaara's defense automatically when he was about to give Gaara a very powerful anesthesia. Raza explained Jiraiya that it was Karura's bloodline that Gaara inherited. Gaara willed his Sand to allow Jiraiya to give him the anesthesia. Raza's control almost slipped in suppressing Shikaku when its chakra coming from the tea kettle became too potent to handle. But he forcefully asserted more control by pouring more chakra onto the tea kettle and Gaara's body and successfully suppressed the beast's chakra again. He suspected that he may exhaust almost all of his chakra by the end of the sealing process. But in his mind that will be just a minor inconvenience at best. Jiraiya let a small smile to grace his face when the process was almost complete. He was also using up most of his chakra to power the sealing process, and that will get him exhausted for some time like Raza. No, not again, came the muffled shout of Shikaku as its last bits of chakra along with its essence were dragged from the tea kettle and into Gaara. Well, Pant, the sealing process, Pant, is complete, Pant, Jiraiya said, wiping the sweat on his forehead, panting heavily. That's Pant, good to hear, Pant, Raza replied, panting as well. Raza took Gaara out of the altar and laid him on a bed in the room and then collapsed on the chair next to the bed. Exhaustion caught up to him, and he fell asleep with his head on the bed. Jiraiya stood up and dismissed the altar and went to the nearest couch and collapsed on it, falling asleep immediately. Just a few moments later, is it over? Karura asked, opening the door to the room. 2 loud snores were her only answer. She chuckled to herself and closed the door to let the 3 males in the room to have some well-deserved sleep. Back at the training grounds, do you watch Pokemon too? Naruto questioned, feeling excited. Temari glanced towards Naruto with a blank face. Yup, and my favorite character is Gary. Kankuro replied. Temari glanced towards Kankuro with the same blank face. No way, Ash is the best, Naruto said firmly. Temari's left eye started twitching dangerously with her growing anger at being ignored by both of them. Pikachu is the cutest. Naruto shouted. No way, Eevee is the cutest. Kankuro shouted. Temari got a tick mark on her forehead with their antics, and her hand slowly crept up towards her fan. Kamehameha! Naruto shouted, mimicking a certain Super Saiyan. Gallic Gun! Kankuro shouted, mimicking another Super Saiyan. With that, both boys aimed their hands at each other. Naruto positioned his hands in such a way that both his hands were stretched forward with his right hand on top and left hand on bottom. Both hands were joined at the base of the palms, while the palms were left open with fingers facing forward, whereas Kankuro thrust both his hands open towards Naruto's hands. Crickets could be heard chirping in the background even in the desert at the display of both boys. For a few seconds nothing happened as both boys kept holding their signature pose. But suddenly 2 large bonking sounds were heard and both Naruto and Kankuro found themselves falling face first in the sand with a large bump forming on their heads. Both of the boys groaned miserably in pain and rolled their bodies so that they are now laying on their backs. When they opened their eyes they didn't like what they saw, a very irritated and angered Temari with a face full of rage. Hello sis, Kankuro greeted, hoping that his sister will cool down. Hello, I'm Naruto, what's your name? Naruto greeted like he just realized Temari was there too. Temari exhaled fiercely and replied, Temari? Hi Temari. Naruto started awkwardly and continued to say after a few seconds, can you help us up? Kankuro also groaned something that sounded like he was agreeing with Naruto's words. Temari sighed and helped Kankuro up first, and then she reached out to help Naruto too. But when she grabbed his hand, something happened again. When she touched Naruto she felt a tingling sensation, like a very low-powered shock. She felt it before too. She felt it for the first time when Naruto grabbed her hand for the first time in Kazekage Tower to help her stand, and also again when she grabbed his hand to drag him here. But she didn't pay attention to it because the first time it happened she was still in shock to see someone younger than her lifting her mother's fan, and the second time it happened she was in too much anger that Naruto lifted her mother's war fan so easily. But now that she is actually paying attention to the tingling sensation, it felt warm and welcoming. It made her feel like she has butterflies in her stomach. Hello? Naruto questioned because Temari just kept staring towards their joined hands and didn't help him stand for more than 30 seconds. Temari was jolted out of her thoughts and shook her head. She then helped Naruto to stand. Kankuro was watching the whole show and a grin that almost split his face in two formed on his face. He felt like he just found a teasing material to be used on his sister, but suppressed a giggle that almost broke out because he does not want to face his sister's wrath now. Maybe later. He thought with a shit-eating grin. Okay, now let's fight. Temari shouted and immediately went on offensive on the blonde boy. She did this to ignore that strange feeling. Kankuro moved some distance away to give them both some space for their spar. Naruto was neither attacking nor he was counter-attacking. He was just avoiding punches and kicks that she was throwing ferociously. So to end the fight one of us must fall down, right? Naruto asked, not even panting, which angered Temari even more. Yes, she shouted in rage and overextended herself with her right hand punch. Naruto caught her fist with his left hand and dragged her towards himself, while simultaneously swiping her legs with his left leg. Temari was about to fall down, but Naruto caught her by her waist with his right hand before she could and held her like that with her right hand still enclosed in his left hand. Kankuro noticed that Temari's face turned red and he didn't know whether she is blushing or she is angry. I win, he said, and then steadied her and released the hold, thinking the fight was over. He turned towards Kankuro to say something, but the terrifying expression on Kankuro's face made him look back. I said the fight is over when someone falls down. Since I did not fall down, this fight is still on. Temari shouted with a red face and ran towards Naruto, drawing her battle fan and revealing the first moon. Oh shit! She is about to use the fan's wind-style ninjutsu, Kankuro thought frantically, and jumped away so as not to get caught in the slicing winds. Temari in a fit of rage broke her own rules of the spar and released a wave of slicing winds towards the blonde boy. The wind started approaching the blonde aggressively, whose face gained a look of concentration like he was ready. Temari realized her mistake and frantically shouted for the blonde to jump away. But what she didn't expect was for a very large bird to come down and use its massive wings around Naruto as a shield. She and Kankuro couldn't see the bird clearly as the wind caused sand to blow up and block their vision. As the dust settled, she saw Naruto standing there like nothing happened at all and a very large bald eagle standing firmly on his extended hand. The bird made sure that its talons wouldn't hurt Naruto. Even though the bald eagles are common in deserts, Temari was sure that it was not the bird that actually protected Naruto. She thought Naruto may have used some type of summoning animal to protect himself. Anyway, he was safe, so she released a sigh and approached the blonde. So you came to see how I was? Naruto asked. Yes, sorry I got caught. Temari wasn't able to complete as Naruto interrupted her by saying, I wasn't talking to you. Naruto then turned his attention back to the bald eagle which is still standing on his extended hand. The eagle made some screeching noises. Naruto nodded towards the eagle with a smile. Thank you, friend, Naruto said, and the eagle gently left his hand and flew away. Temari got wide-eyed. You can talk to birds? She shouted, a little far away from the kids. Are you sure that your interference is needed in a spar? The child can handle himself very well against that wind jutsu, judging from the lack of shock or surprise on his face. A presence asked another one while both these presences kept watching the three kids. That child is too kind for his own good. Can't take chances with the future of Mother Nature. The second presence replied, well, it's a good thing that one of Mother Nature's children came to help us by hiding our involvement. The first presence said again, referring to the bald eagle. The second presence nodded his head, and then both vanished from the area without leaving any kind of proof that they were present there in the first place. Where am I? Were the thoughts running through the child's mind as he found himself waking up to a sitting position in ankle-deep water that is in red color. So you're here? I want to rip you out into tiny pieces if only I can get out from here, a booming voice roared. The child winced at the loudness of the voice and turned to look at the source. He found himself staring at a cage that has 4 heavy steel bars. He couldn't quite see how tall the rods were, because those steel bars seemed to be going on forever into the darkness of the sky. He slowly stood up and walked close towards the bars to get a good look. He stopped 10 feet before the bars and found that the bars were held close by a seal with a kanji being written on it that reads seal. He was still observing the seal on the bars and then suddenly found himself skidding back a little by the sudden wind coming from within the bars. He braced himself against the sudden wind and understood that whatever was on the other side of the cage just exhaled its breath. The child saw what appears to be a giant beast's shadow slowly rising up within the darkness of the other side of the cage. He still couldn't see it clearly cause the beast was not coming out into light. The only things that are visible were its eyes in the darkness. Mark my words, you stupid insect, this seal may stop me for now, but I will find a way out of here and kill everything that's precious to you. Came the booming voice of the beast. Then it sat down, resting its head on its front legs. It was somewhat visible now, but still not clearly. The child was scared at first, but only until he heard what the beast said at the end. When he heard what it intends to do at the end of its sentence, the boy's posture suddenly changed. The beast saw that the fear in the eyes was replaced by something else, something that it can't understand. Then the boy surprised it by actually coming through the steel bars. The beast was too surprised to do anything, but the boy didn't stop there. He went up to its front leg, climbed on it, and kept on walking until he was right in front of its right eye. Will you be my friend? The words caught the beast unaware, and it was shocked beyond belief. Eh? Was the only reply that came to its mind. My father sealed you into me. He believes that only I can protect the village and my precious ones with your help. The boy replied, putting emphasis on the word help. The beast didn't reply, but let the boy continue. I don't want to use your power, I'm requesting you to help me with your power to protect the village and those who are precious to me. Those words put the beast in deep thought, which was an unusual thing for it. I want you to be my friend and one of my most precious people, the boy finished saying. After a few more moments, when the beast still didn't reply, the boy slowly climbed down from its front leg and started to walk towards the bars with his back turned towards the beast. This is my chance to attack him and escape from here before he crosses the bars. Were the thoughts screaming in the beast's mind. It turned towards the retreating boy and raised claws to attack. But the boy still had his back facing it. Then the realization struck its head like a hedgehammer. The boy trusts him so much? The boy reminded it of another person whom it respected. A person who also trusted it so much that he also had his back facing the beast. A fond memory that the beast always cherished made its way into its mind. There's really no need to distinguish between man and beast because a friend of the heart provides peace of mind, no matter what their species, a very old-looking man said to the beast. He was sitting cross-legged in ankle-deep water of his mindscape. I gotta say, you're one strange bastard. I bet there isn't ever going to be a human like you again, the very same beast replied, and it was seen sitting behind the old man. No, I think you're wrong here. Human souls are like reflecting water. People often speak or act the opposite of their true feelings, but I believe that fundamentally people's hearts wish to connect with and accept each other, even with beasts. The old man replied with sagely wisdom, and the beast was surprised at his words beyond belief. You know, you kind of remind me of my own father, the old man, sage of the 6 paths. The beast said genuinely. The old man's eyes were starting to have tears of happiness at hearing the acknowledgement in the beast's voice. Thank you very much. I believe that those are the most heartwarming words I've ever received from you, he replied with a shaking voice. Hey, seriously though, I really can't see there being other people like you out there. Oh, I'm sure there are. I know that one day, someone will emerge who will protect, redeem and cherish you, the old man started to say and paused while raising his hands and placing them in such a way that his palms were facing his face. There are kanji written on the palms of both of his hands. On his left hand palm there was a kanji that reads acceptance, and on his right hand palm there was a kanji that reads heart. And the moment you come to accept his true heart, you too will likely comprehend the meaning of these words that my mentor etched onto my palms. He finished his saying referring to the words on his palms, and then joined both his palms in a praying gesture. Both the kanji fused and gave another kanji that read love. The beast found itself staring at the same word on the forehead of the boy who was now standing outside the bars and facing it. The boy was observing the beast curiously because of its unusual silence. After what felt like an eternity, the beast finally replied, "My father asked me to help humans, but you humans are all the same. You humans will do anything and everything for power." It shouted the last sentence. The boy looked at it with something akin to understanding and then bowed to the beast. "I can understand if you don't trust me now, but I will work my way until I have earned your trust, believe it." He completed the last words by rising up and thrusting his fist into the air. To the boy's surprise and shock, the beast started to laugh like an idiot, and after its laughing subsided a little, the beast asked, "What's your name, kid?" "Gaara," the boy replied. "Hey Gaara, you remind me of Bunpuku so much." "Who's that?" Gaara asked with confusion. "Like hell I'm gonna say go away." With that, Gaara was forcefully expelled from the mindscape. Kazekage Tower, Sand Village. It has been 3 days since the sealing process, and Jiraiya and Raza were still recovering from their chakra exhaustion. Right now Gaara is still in observation room in case any complexities arise. Karura was asleep in chair with her head on the bed holding Gaara's hand. Chio came occasionally to see how Gaara was doing. Gaara's eyes started to flutter open slowly and he woke up to a sitting position, causing Karura to wake up too with his movements. "Gaara!" Karura cried happily and started to hug her youngest child with motherly love. Gaara returned the hug. "Where are dad, sis, and elder brother?" Gaara asked after his mom let him go. "Well, your dad is resting, and about your brother even I don't want to know what your elder brother is doing right now with his dolls," Karura joked. Gaara tilted his head in confusion, not understanding the joke. But he let it go and questioned, "What about Temari, sis?" Well, Karura started to say awkwardly but paused, trying to find words that will convey what she wanted to say in the best way to her youngest son. "She is having some girly problems." "Huh?" was the intelligent reply from Gaara. "Kazekage residence, Temari's room." "How the hell can you beat me?" Temari woke up shouting from having another dream of getting beaten by a 5-year-old kid. She seems to have them a lot lately. Dreams of 5-year-old kids, no pun intended. LMAO, laughing face. After realizing that she just had another dream of losing to a 5-year-old kid, she got up and rubbed the sleepiness out of her eyes. She went to washroom and got dressed and came down to the dining room to have some breakfast in peace. But alas, God seems to have found another funny way of messing with her. Pikachu Thunderbolt attack! Naruto shouted, throwing a card. He was sitting in one of the seats of the dining table. Eevee quick attack! Kankuro shouted back, throwing another card. He was sitting in the seat directly facing Naruto's. Temari poured herself some cereal and milk in a bowl and sat near Kankuro. "Good morning." She greeted the both of them, but both boys were so into their game that they didn't even notice her. Charizard Dragon Rage attack! Naruto shouted, throwing another card. Blast his Hydro Cannon attack! Kankuro shouted again, throwing another card in response. "Oh hello," she tried to get their attention. "You guys gonna keep on ignoring me?" Temari asked with a twitching eyebrow and tick mark on her forehead when they still didn't respond to her. "Cloyster, I choose you." Naruto shouted, throwing the final card. Psyduck use Tail Whip attack! Kankuro shouted back, throwing in his last card. After a few seconds of absolute silence, Kankuro realized what he did and remembered what Psyduck did in the Pokemon anime when Misty asked Psyduck to do the Tail Whip attack. Naruto also seemed to remember that episode, and both guys fell on the floor laughing like crazy remembering that scene. "Dude, you lost," Naruto said in between his laughs. "Yeah dude, I know," Kankuro replied in between his own laughs. But suddenly both boys felt that the temperature of the room dropped by some noticeable degrees, and both of them looked up and found themselves trembling in fear when they saw Temari in rage mode walking towards them with her fan. "I'm here too!" she shouted while launching her fan on the terrified boys. Back at the Kazekage Tower, Gaara heard his sister's overpitched shout and turned towards his mother and asked in confusion, "Mom, what was that?" "Never mind Gaara, as I said earlier, your elder sister is having some girly problems," Karura replied with an awkward smile and a sweat drop at the back of her head. "So we have to stay for 4 more days for you to fully recover, right?" Naruto said to Jiraiya, who is sitting on the couch in the room provided for them in the Kazekage residence. "Yeah," Jiraiya said, yawning. His chakra was back to 70%, but he wanted to be completely fit when they make their journey back home. "Yes." Naruto jumped with excitement, pointing his fist to the sky. "Eh?" Jiraiya uttered in slight surprise. "I can spend more time with Kankuro, Gaara, Temari, and also take a tour around the Sand Village," Naruto replied, jumping on his footballs. Yeah, now let me take a nap." "Go away," Jiraiya said while getting comfortable on the coach, and closed his eyes. Naruto let his godfather sleep and went to the dining room where Kankuro and others should be. Dining room. "Hey sis, have you seen Naruto this morning?" Kankuro asked his elder sister, who was sitting across from him in between munching a mouthful of cereal. "You both seem to have become best friends," Karura remarked with a smile from her place where she was preparing the breakfast on the kitchen counter. "Yes. That guy knows his stuff. He watches Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, and he even knows Clint Eastwood movies," Kankuro kept on ranting. After 2 minutes, when Kankuro still kept on going, Temari sighed. "Basically both are just idiots," she said, interrupting Kankuro. "Hey!" Karura ignored his indignant shout and replied to Temari. "Well, I'm sure you can become friends with Naruto too." "Yeah right, when these two idiots are at one place, It's like they are in their own imaginary world where people who make animals fight for them exist, Temari replied, spinning a glass with her index finger lazily. Oh? Is that longing for a boy's attention that I'm hearing in your voice? Karura asked with a smirk, in a teasing voice. Huh? Temari tilted her head with confusion on her face in a cute way. Kankuro got what his mother was saying and he was trying his best to control his laughter but was about to fail when suddenly someone made their presence known. Yo came Naruto's shout from the entrance to the kitchen cum dining room. Yo, Kankuro shouted back. Good morning, Naruto-kun, Karura said. Naruto approached Karura and hugged her at waist level and greeted back, good morning, Aunt Karura. Karura just smiled and ruffled Naruto's hair. Then she remembered the first time she met Naruto. Flashback the evening when Naruto defeated Temari. Karura was in the kitchen preparing some fruit juice for both Jiraiya and Raza as they are still exhausted due to the sealing process. She just came back after checking the sealing room where she found Jiraiya on the couch, Raza on the chair next to the bed and Gaara on the bed. All three of them were fast asleep, so she left them to take rest. I'm still surprised that you can talk to birds, came Temari's voice, which made Karura to turn around. Sure enough, there were Temari, Kankuro and one other kid who is almost the same age as Gaara. Karura guessed the boy was the heir of Senju clan whom her husband informed her about. Raza told her that the boy will be staying with them along with Jiraiya until the time of their stay in the Sand Village. Well, Naruto started to say, scratching his head with an awkward smile, trying to think of an answer for Temari's question. Did you want to play Pokemon card game? Kankuro inquired, interrupting Naruto's thought process. Yes. Naruto replied in excitement, and completely forgot about Temari's earlier question, which left Temari with a twitching eyebrow. Who plays with card games anyway? She said in irritation. Naruto and Kankuro blinked their eyes and replied as one, kids. Karura was trying hard not to laugh at Temari's face, which was scrunched in confusion as she didn't understand what the boys are saying. Eh? Was Temari's unintelligible reply. Kids play card games and we all are kids, Naruto replied as if that was a universal fact, which it was. Leave it, dude, she is 8 years old, Kankuro drawled, making sure to emphasize the word old with air quotes. Why you? Temari started to say, raising her fist to face level, and that fist had vein popping up. Karura decided to intervene and coughed. Ahem, welcome back home. All three kids turned towards Karura. Temari and Kankuro did not have any reaction to seeing their mom in kitchen, but Naruto was shocked beyond belief when he saw Karura for the first time. He saw his birth mother Kushina's pictures from the various albums that his mother Tsunade had shown him. To him, Karura looked almost exactly like Kushina except the hair and eye color. If Karura had long red hair, violet eyes instead of short brown hair, indigo-colored eyes, then Karura would almost look like Kushina. The resemblance was so much that Naruto almost thought it was Kushina. Hello ma'am, I'm Naruto, he greeted after he recovered from his shock. Hello Naruto, I'm Karura. Karura replied with a gentle smile. Karura-san, I want to ask something if that's okay, Naruto asked politely. Go on Naruto-kun, Karura said. Karura-san, you look a lot like my birth mother Kushina Uzumaki, do you know her? Are you related to Uzumaki clan somehow? Naruto asked rather timidly. Temari and Kankuro shared confused glances while Karura seemed like she was remembering something that happened a while ago. Kushina, huh? Well, I met her once or twice when me and Raza visited Leaf Village when 4th Hokage was still alive, she reminisced, feeling remorseful. Well, we both do look a lot like each other, sort of. She also asked me the same question you asked, but honestly I don't know if I'm related to Uzumaki or not cause my mother was an orphan and I don't know anyone else from my mother's side, she replied. Oh, Naruto said downtrodden. Don't worry Naruto-kun, even if somehow we are not related, you can still call me Aunt, Karura said with a genuine smile. Naruto nodded happily as he ran up to her and started hugging her. Thank you Aunt Karura. No problem Naruto-kun, she replied, ruffling his hair. Flashback end. If you don't remember, I'm still here, not like you three care anyway. Temari tried to sound like she was angry, referring to Karura, Kankuro and Naruto, but the genuine smile on her face was failing her miserably. Good morning sis, Gaara said as he just walked into the dining room. He didn't know the conversation that was going on. Gaara met Naruto the evening when he woke up. Both became friends, but not to the level that Kankuro became with Naruto. See, my younger brother is always on my side, Temari shouted as she appeared right next to Gaara and wrapped an arm around Gaara's shoulders, giving him a one-armed hug. Huh? Was Gaara's reply, cause he doesn't know what's going on here. Hey, and now that Gaara's here, Kankuro, let's go around the village. I want to see all the stuff that Sand Village has, Naruto said as Temari released Gaara. Okiyai, Kankuro shouted, showing a thumbs up with both hands while Gaara walked up to his brother and Naruto. We can actually go to the rare and natural hot springs in the village, Gaara suggested. Temari's jaw dropped as seemingly even Gaara forgot her as she turned her head towards Gaara. Maybe we should do shuriken and kunai training in the training grounds first. Temari shifted her eyes towards Naruto, who suggested that while rubbing his chin like he was in deep thought. Wait, we should go to the barbecue restaurant first. Temari was having another bout of anger as seemingly she was being forgotten again as she turned towards Kankuro, who shouted that. Wait, we will first go to the training grounds, then to the hot springs, and once we have freshened up we can enjoy barbecue meat. Naruto suggested. Dude, that's a great idea, it'll be my treat, cause I lost in our Pokemon card game, Kankuro replied. Why are we waiting? Let's go then, Gaara said excited. Kankuro, being the eldest of the boys, wrapped a hand on both young boys and led them towards the door. But when they were almost about to step out of the room, the trio of boys collectively as one turned towards the source and found Temari with folded hands, tapping her foot on the floor impatiently with an irritated look. "You dumbos didn't forget about me, did you?" "Of course not, /no sis, /nope," were the replies from Kankuro, Gaara and Naruto respectively. "Good," Temari said as she haughtily walked past the sweat-dropping boys with attitude and turned around. "You idiots coming or not?" The three of them nodded without missing a beat and started walking behind her. "Dude, she's quite bossy," Naruto muttered. "You have no idea," both brothers of Temari replied as one. Meanwhile, Cloud Village. "Why am I even here?" The fourth Raikage, I thought, releasing a sigh while pretending to listen to the council members bickering back and forth about financial issues and other stuff regarding the Cloud Village. He always trusts his assistant Myoboku to handle all non-shinobi related matters of the village while he handles the shinobi issues himself. He never liked it when he was forced to sit through the boring meetings when he could have used that time to lift some weights. Now that all the financial matters are settled, started a council member, which made Raikage to inwardly smile that it's finally over and pay attention. "We need to discuss something that has been bothering us for the last 5 years," the council member finished saying. I narrowed his eyes. He got a pretty good idea where this conversation was going. But he didn't say anything outwardly and motioned for the council member to continue speaking. "We need to talk about the Senju clan heir Naruto Senju," the council member said. "What about the boy?" he questioned, already knowing what the answer will be. "Even though he is Senju clan heir, we all know whose son he actually is," another councilwoman said. "It's no wonder that they knew, cause when Tsunade adopted him, Hiruzen announced who Naruto's real parents are to the Leaf Village, and words travel fast among shinobi nations. Hiruzen trusted Tsunade's and Jiraiya's words that anyone intending to harm Naruto will have to go through them first." "So?" was Ai's question. "We suffered huge losses in the Third Shinobi War because of the boy's father," another random council member pointed out. I was tapping his fingers on his desk impatiently for them to get to the point already. "We need to do something about the boy before he becomes the second coming of the Yellow Flash," the council member who started the topic first finally said. "So let me get this clear," I started to say in an eerily calm voice, which was very much unusual for him. "You want the Cloud Village to go, and cause harm to the possible future second coming of the Yellow Flash, and draw on the wrath of the god of shinobi Hiruzen, the Toad Sage Jiraiya and the Slug Princess Tsunade?" I finished, still not showing any signs of anger. That one statement caused the entire council chamber to fall in a pin-drop silence. I had enough of their bickering about the same issues since the last 5 years. He always avoided the topic in the past, but now he decided to give the council members a reality check. "So if you all respected council members forgot, let me remind you that Hidden Stone Village suffered humiliating losses at the hands of the Yellow Flash. And yet, I don't find any reports of Hidden Stone making any kind of aggressive approach to harm the Senju heir," I pointed out. A few moments later, when the council members still couldn't talk after the bomb he dropped. "So I guess all of you will drop this topic once and for all after this," he said finally, and stood up. "Myoboku, take care of the council," he told his assistant, spitting the word council like it was some sort of venom. "Daru, see, let's go," he said to his personal bodyguards, and left the council, leaving a still shell-shocked council behind. At the same time, Stone Village. "No," was Inoki's casual reply to all the Jounin and Chunin assembled before him. "But Tsuchikage-sama, the boy is seen traveling only with Sannin Jiraiya, and we all know about the man's weakness for women. We can have one of our kunoichi seduce the Sannin while we finish off the child of that man," one of the Jounin among the crowd said while spitting out the word "that man" like it was some sort of venom. "No," Inoki said again in a dismissal tone while trying to go back to the paperwork. Ever since the news of the Yellow Flash's child reached Hidden Stone, many shinobi of his village are itching for a chance to get some much-needed vengeance for the last 5 years. "Did you forget about all the loved ones that we lost to that man?" another Chunin started to say but wasn't able to finish as he was hit by massive and potent killing intent, coming from Inoki in waves. It was then that they all understood that this was the man who faced Madara Uchiha, and was still alive to tell the story. That man did what he should as his duty to protect his home, Inoki sternly said, and let the killing intent to subside, allowing the crowd to breathe again. "It was us who started a quarrel with the Leaf Village in the first place. We were the ones who tried to invade Leaf. We were the ones that forced that man to massacre our forces. By killing his student, we were the ones who caused our own loss in the last war." Inoki pointed out what happened in the past. Inoki held up a hand when some members were about to protest. "I didn't forget about the loved ones that were lost to us by that man. My own granddaughter lost her mother to that man. We will have our vengeance by killing that man's child, but not now. Hidden Stone will not be able to withstand the combined assault from 2 of the legendary Sannin if we do anything stupid now. In order to hunt, a tiger always stays hidden." Very patiently he started to say, and then a wicked grin found its way on his face that made the assembled crowd to get scared of their Tsuchikage. "So in order to hunt that tiger itself, we have to be even more patient." He finished his saying and his grin turned into a full-blown maniac laugh. Far away Mist Village. It was a chilling night with snowfall, and a 5-year-old child was seen resting on a bridge with back resting on the side wall of the bridge. The child was wearing an overly large, shredded light brown shirt which fell off from shoulders, and a pair of shredded knee-length pants, as well as a dark choker around the neck. The child was looking malnourished due to lack of food for some days. The child had the knees hugging to chest and rested the head on the knees with a downtrodden look. The child has messy black hair with some unruly spikes falling on the forehead. Soon the shadow of a mysterious man fell upon the kid, which made the child to look up. There was a man standing tall looking at the child. The man was fairly well built, and had a scratched-out mist headband tied on his forehead, with the scratched-out mist symbol facing sideways. The most striking feature of the man is that his lower half of the face was covered completely with white bandages. "Hug a little kid like you. With no one to look after you, you'll die a beggar's death," the man stated like it was a matter of fact. Instead of getting scared about the man, the child only smiled genuinely and tilted the head to side while closing eyes. "Hey, you know what, your eyes remind me of mine," the child replied genuinely. For a flicker of a moment, the man's eyes showed some emotion that the child couldn't quite figure out. But as soon as the emotion appeared, it disappeared. "Well, little one, will you stay here and die? Or come with me and be of some use? Will you serve me and submit to my will in all things?" The man laid out his proposition, not letting the child to find out any more emotion coming from him. For the first time since the conversation started, the man found some hope in the child's eyes as the child nodded slowly. "Then your special abilities belong to me from this day forward," the man said his condition. The child nodded again and got up and approached the man. The man just put his hand on the unruly hair of the child and ruffled only a little and wrapped the same hand around the child's shoulders and turned around. "Let us go then," the man said, and took the child along with him in his journey. Some time later, Mist Village. The same man and child were now seen standing on a cliff overlooking the Mist Village. The child now looked somewhat better with the hair being neatly combed, and no longer looking malnourished. The child is now seen wearing a short blue kimono with light blue edges and a dark gray split skirt. After gazing at the village for a few moments, the man finally said, "My time here is done, Haku. Tonight I've cast aside the land of water. One day I will return and seize this land and hold it in my hands. Many things must be done before that day comes, and you will help me to do them, but I warn you, friendship, comfort and encouragement, I do not need these things. Nor should you expect them from me," he reminded the child once again. "I understand I am yours, Zabuza. I am only an instrument of your will. Think of me as a weapon to be kept at your side and used as you see fit," the now identified Haku replied. "Well said, child," the now identified demon of the mist complimented the child without any emotion.